On Monday, September the 17th, in the year of our Lord 2018. The opinions expressed by the participants in the following program do not necessarily represent that of this station or its management. From the John DeVita Recording Studio, located in an undisclosed and clandestine location on the great northwest side of our fair city of Chicago, we once again are pleased to be presenting yet another edition of our monthly roundtable panel discussion show, Meet the Chicago Historians. Now here's the guy who started it all, John DeVita.
Well, thank you very much, Rich. From the John DeVita Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Meet the Chicago Historians on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Monday, September the 17th, the year 2018. Today, the panel will be talking about the 1968 Democratic Convention here in Chicago. So sit back and enjoy Meet the Chicago Historians. And now to start our today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Mr. Richard Lang.
And now here's our panel moderator, Jack Red Ryan.
Okay,
Jack?
everybody, cancel the missing on me now. I'm here. I can expect to get my regular pay envelope this time around. So, yeah, hello everybody, Jack Ryan here. On a beautiful late summer day. It's still officially summer, although the kids are back in school, right? Everybody? Those that go to school, I mean. They're back in school. I mean, I thought it was a dirty trick to send you back before Labor Day. And the more and more doing it, so those Catholic schools. Anyway, let's have the roll call. We'll have a little late arrival, I know, but right now, starting on my right, what is your name, sir?
Dennis Fitzgerald, John, Jack.
What is your background?
So I'm a retired Chicago policeman of 33 years. And in that time flies by, I retired in 2001. Yeah, time flies by.
It sure does. You're having a good time like that, right?
It is. It's a good time of life. A lot to be thankful for. And pretty much I'm as busy as I want to be.
Yeah.
Although sometimes I do complain.
Sometimes you're busier than you used to be.
Well, there you go. That's right. But it's all good.
Get to work, I don't have to learn anything. So, and what are you doing to keep yourself busy?
I'm turning this phone off right now. I'll tell you. Well, I'll tell you what. Little did I know this is in store for me, but in conjunction with the police chaplain of the Chicago Police Department, Father Dan Brandt, I head up the one and the only Knights of Columbus Police Council. Our council is 20 years old, and the Knights of Columbus is 135 years old, with 15,000 councils around the world, but only one law enforcement council that's here in Chicago, and that's what I head up.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And next up, somebody I know for a few little while there, Tom.
Tom McKenna, another retired Chicago police officer, 34 years, and a lifelong friend of our moderator, Red Ryan. He's been going through transitional names. I started as knowing him as John, then Jack, now Red. One step ahead of the law, I believe. He keeps on dodging all those warrants for his arrest. But anyway,
my new name will be Pookie.
Right, Pookie. And I'm one of the few people that actually admit to being a lifelong friend of John, Jack, Red, Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Since about 7 years old,
Right.
Some people just can't keep friends, though, Well, actually, we're pretty fortunate. We have Mike Tynan. We got a couple of friends from grade school. And of course, Don Rogers passed away last year. He went in the Marine Corps. He stayed in San Diego. Mike Tynan went in the Air Force. Stayed in Tampa. So, smart choices, though, I think. Think of the places, right?
That's why I'm glad I wasn't in Vietnam. I'd probably still be there.
You might still be. Yeah, well, yeah, you got a point. You have a point. Next up, sir.
Don Peter, back.
Good to see you.
Good to be seen. I retired from downtown Oak Park, a.k.a. the Village.
So anyway, the home of Ernest Hemingway?
Oak Park Ernie, yes.
And Edgar Rice Burroughs?
Right. And who else was it? I can't remember.
You.
Well,
What was the guy? Yeah, he's dead now. The actor from
Betty White was there.
no,
John
the actor
Mahoney?
from
John Mahoney.
Yeah, Mahoney. John
that's
Mahoney.
right.
Yeah, he just
Mahoney.
passed away about a year ago, I think.
Yeah,
Frank Lloyd Wright.
Am I wrong?
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
So, yeah. We moved into Oak Park in 1950, and I'm still stuck there.
Yeah. You're stuck there.
Yeah. Thank
Gee.
thank goodness for the old farts.
stuck there.
Freeze on their real estate taxes, or else, man, I wouldn't have been able.
Oh Lord, that's all over the state right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about that later.
Right, but
Next up, we've heard from our announcer, but let's hear a little more of that,
Your
Rich.
announcer, Rich Lang. I've got a background in teaching modern European and American history, and more recently I've become involved in a group that recreates old-time radio shows.
And anything going on now we should know about it?
Not that many. Our docket is rather thin right now. We're doing a couple of shows at Mather Senior Center early next year.
What will they be?
Yes.
What? You know?
Sorry?
Do you know what you're going to choose to recreate?
No, we haven't set our scripts yet. No. Usually it's Jack Benny, Fibber McGee and Molly, or one of our favorites, Abbott and Costello, Who's On First.
Yeah. Nobody's ever tried like War of the Worlds, have they?
No, dramas don't seem to go over that well. People seem to want comedy. Brief comedy sketches, right?
That was always. You look at the top-rated shows over the years. They're always the 4 or 5 were, you know, Fred Allen, Jack Benny. You know, it was all the comedy stuff.
Oh, yeah. That's what people seem
Even
to want.
same with television. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
radio. Something about radio though, as they say, your mind supplies all the scenery and
Yeah.
Which
Use
is
your
great.
imagination. That's how we
Imagination,
say it. Yeah.
didn't work for me. I just drew a blank.
yeah.
Even listening to radio? Wow.
Well, I used to listen to TV.
That's, I can see
I used to listen to the Test Pattern. Remember that?
You're right.
that. Yeah.
Test Pattern Theater.
That's right. For people.
NBC had an Indian with a, I don't know what it was around it.
Yeah, sure.
Like a
That
cross
sounds
or something,
familiar.
almost like.
Yeah.
And a hump.
When I'm speaking, since this is radio and you don't know what I look like, just picture Tom Cruise. Look very similar.
No Steve Reeves, Superman?
Yes,
A
you
young
don't
Tom
Hercules.
Cruise. Yeah.
A young Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want me, Rip Taylor. Look like him anyway. Yes, sir. Anything else?
No, that's it for now.
Okay.
You'll hear more
And
from
you are here because of our friend, our good friend Ken Little was your class, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Long-time teacher of mine, got to know him very well. The thing about Ken Little, expert on Chicago history, and he could tell you everything about any street in the city.
It could be a half a block long.
Photographic
you knew it.
memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't-
Never forget him.
Wasn't he the only one in the city council or city colleges that
Lean into
taught-
Michael
that
more.
talk,
In recent
that
years,
talk
yeah.
history?
He taught Chicago history at Wright
Right,
College.
but he was the
for
only
last
one
20
that I
years.
know of that
I
ever
think
did.
so. I'm not sure if there's anybody who took his place. You can't take his place.
Nobody can take his place.
No, that's right.
That's right.
Wouldn't even try.
No.
No.
Next up, sir.
Bill Kugelman, retired firefighter, City of Chicago, 46 years doing that, and also the deputy director of the Illinois Bureau of Racetrack Police. And I'm here representing myself.
Do what?
I'm here representing myself.
Right, doing
Yourself.
a fine job.
We had the Cop Talk show here some time back, and when the boss, Mr. Joe, died, why we had to come here and do this. So it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure once a month to do this.
You speak of Joe Gentile, who was the owner of the station, the founder of the station,
Yes.
and it was really nothing like that station. There was just it was for the community. It was more than just Cop Talk because everybody called there, and everybody
Oh yeah.
was you were a regular caller, and different charitable organizations would call, and it was 2 hours Saturday morning.
It wasn't who you knew like WLS, WGN, and all of the rest of them. It was you were like one of the family.
Yeah.
It was really
And they always
really
took
well.
a call. They never turned anybody down.
Right. No, he was a great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy.
And well, there'll never be another one like him either.
No,
What did Chet Coppe call him? The Baron of Barrington?
Baron of
Because he was
Barrington.
an automobile dealership out there, correct?
Exactly. He had a couple. Yeah. Yeah, and he was a great guy to give money to different places that need it, such as St. Ignatius and
Loyola.
who?
Loyola University.
Oh, Loyola, yes.
Yeah. Isn't
But I don't think we could name all of them.
Yeah, but those two, they named the state, the
Stadium after him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had a chair there just for him, wasn't it? A chair just for him that, that nobody else would sit in, didn't they?
Well,
Yes.
yes, I think they did.
Yep.
John would
Yeah.
know. John?
Yes,
John-
I used to. Joe would call me up and say, "DeVito, what are you doing?" I says, "Oh, I'm cutting my grass or I'm doing something at home. Come on over and pick me up and take me to Loyola, and bring the kid with, meaning Oscar." And we would go there and put him in his car, and I'd drive home to Loyola University. And we walked in. Boy, when he walked in, you think the good Lord had walked through the doors of that place. Everybody came over and said hello to him and shook his hand. And Joe was a great, wonderful person. And we used to sit right down on the floor. They call it the Coca-Cola seats. And there was a chair just there for Joe. Nobody could sit in that chair but Joe Gentile. And then I would sit next to him, and Oscar would sit next to me, and we would enjoy the football game at the Joe Gentile Sports Center at Loyola University. And I think yet to this day they still call it the Joe Gentile Sports Arena yet. Or
It was
Sports
basketball,
Center.
wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure if Joe was still alive, the last year he would have had a smile on his face from ear to ear the way Loyola performed such a great year last year in basketball.
Yeah, it was a dream season
Yeah,
for them. I
yeah.
know. I thought about him during the playoffs.
Yeah, and I tell you, gentlemen, I miss Joe. Every time I sit behind this control board here in this control room here, I have his picture right up in front of me, and I thank him for all what Joe had done for me. He was a great person.
The few times I was at the station, he looked at me and go, "Irish, huh?" And then he got to know me after a while. That wasn't so bad for an Irishman. Only half an Irishman. Shh.
Yep.
Shh.
But you know,
You know what the other half is, don't you?
You know, gentlemen, just let me say this. Yes, Cop Talk made WJJG. That was one of the best programs that we had on the station. Of course, we had a lot of other good ones. Dr. Wayne Chekowicz, that Healthy Talk. We had Don Ficarelli, the Don of Sports, who now comes here to this studio and does his show once a month. We had Jeanette Frontier, who did a show. Linda Pergersis, who did a show, and everybody that was associated and had a program on WJJG was very, very good. Even
I know, Joe's plan was to keep the station going, didn't he? Would beyond him, he thought?
well, let me tell you this.
Didn't
people,
work out, though, I know.
Let me tell you this, people. I was a witness to this. Joe had promised his wife, or Joe made his wife promise that anything ever happened to him, she would not sell the station or do anything negative to the station. Joe was not even dead yet. And this guy that put his hand around her, more ways than one, talked Carol into changing the call letter. So it went from WJJG, which stood for Joseph John Gentile, and changed the call letters to WCKG, which it is presently to this day. He made her promise that she would now not sell the station, to keep the station as it was when he was handling it. It wasn't a month after Joe passed away. The station was sold.
Oh, what a shame.
Yes.
With him was
I
a work
can't
of
believe
love, I
a woman
think.
actually lied to her husband.
And of course, gentlemen,
Shocking.
as you gentlemen all know, I started with Joe March 1st, the year of 2002. My mother died at 10 o'clock in the morning that day, and Joe Gentile and I, we got to be, let us say, we got to be friends on that day. And I was his station manager, and I was his chief engineer. There's about 4 or 5 times I was up in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, 6 o'clock in the morning, they couldn't get the station on the air, and I had to drive all the way back from up north all the way to Elmhurst where the transmitter was.
Did you say Elkhorn?
Elkhorn, yeah.
I wrestled there.
Yeah. Elkhorn is just 15 miles north of Lake Geneva on Route 12.
I know where it is.
And I was, like I said, I was station manager and chief engineer, and I had a show on in the morning, playing the big band music, and John, who just walked into the studios, was there with me. And after Joe passed away, I was replaced by Mancow, and I was asked to leave.
You know, John, somebody else that was on that program, I know a lot of people will recognize his name, is Bill Giaconetti. And Bill, where are you now? I haven't heard from you in a long time. Anybody runs across Bill Giaconetti, have him give a call.
Yeah, well, I tell you, Bill was one of my favorite people on WJJG. I supported Bill, and I did everything. WJJG was a brokered station, so if you wanted to do a show on the station, you had to pay $60 an hour to be on the air. A couple times, Bill had a little problem. So I had gone to his house. He lives about maybe a mile and a half away from our studios there. And I went up there and I gave him the money so he could continue to be on the air. I was at a doings one day, and another person that was there told everybody that I was the cause of Bill Giaconetti being taken off the air. And it just upset me to no end, because I did everything I could to save Bill and to save Cop Talk on the station. But this big mouth went out and told people that I was the reason why Cop Talk went off the air.
Well, it's good to hear you set the record straight now, John.
And the person whose doings I was at is here in the studio. And I just want to leave it go at that. But Bill is still yet to this day. He is my friend, and I wish we could get him to come to the program. And we had a program here, maybe a couple of years ago, about Our Lady of the Angels Fire.
Oh yeah.
And I had talked to Bill, and I pleaded with Bill to come here because Bill was involved with that Our Lady of the Angels fires. He was a police officer out in that area out there the day that fire started. And Jeanette Frontier, who was part of our panel here for a while, she had a candy store right across the street from Our Lady of the Angels. So, Bill is my friend, and I wish, I've invited him more than once to come here to this studio to do our Meet the Chicago Historians, and every time, right after we all left WJJG, all the brokers were told to leave. We had a broker party at Tony Spavone's restaurant out there on Lake Street, and was that the Burlington, or I forget the name of it. Right across the street from where Joe was laid out, Sorrento's funeral home. And I had called Bill and told him I want you to be part of the brokers party, and I'll have to check my calendar. Well, he never showed up, and I guess he was invited to come here today, and he's
John, I talked to him here a couple of weeks ago, and he said he would be happy to be with us. And I left a message here a day or two ago, and didn't hear back from him.
Bill, you're with the fire department, but right now we have got 3 police officers sitting down in the studios, and maybe what we should go to his house, put a gun to his head, and say, "You're coming with us."
Yeah. You know what, John? After the program, you give me his address. I'll knock on his door. I like Bill. I worked with him in the late '60s in the Wood Street Station, 13th District.
You were there?
And I was there, and he was a good guy, and I like to see him here.
Just don't point your gun at him, because you have to leave a report on that now.
Bill was highly decorated.
Yes, he was the most highly decorated police officer in
I like no more pointing.
I like the story that Bill told us one day, that when he was a kid, when he was a teenager, they were playing in the bushes. I think it was at Senn High School, and him and a couple other guys, they were all playing there, and whatever they were doing, and the copper come by, some big Irish copper that everybody knew, and he says, "Hey, you guys get out of here." He says, "Who's in there?" And Bill says, "Who are you?" Bill says, "Bill, Jack, and Eddie."
He just says Jack and Eddie, didn't he?
And he said,
Yeah.
"Well, you get out of here." So Bill walked out, and the copper said, "Well, where's the other two guys?" And he says, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, you said Bill, Jack, and Eddie was back there." I never forget that one. It was a good story.
It's a true story, too, right?
True story,
Yeah.
yeah.
But they're the best ones. Okay, before we're in the process of roll calling, we had a late arrival. They're here. And we were excused, though. And who are you, sir?
I am John Escacholco, and I'm very glad to be here at the John DeVita Broadcast Center in the heart of downtown Norwich with our regular monthly Meet the Chicago Historians.
Okay. And we have Kate. She's asleep, though.
It's the only female that we have in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the
Kate.
mascot.
Gentlemen,
She's sleeping, of course.
And that leaves me. Jack, Red Ryan, John Ryan, whatever you want to call me, doesn't matter. I like Tom and
Just not late for supper?
I never miss. And then, anyway, I had 34 years on the police department. I thought I'd try it for a while, I did. I tried it for a while. And then I also, I have this, and I was writing a little opinion column for the Southwest News Herald, and the owner, the publisher, didn't want so many opinions, and we got cut out. I personally think maybe I was being a little bit too frank and blunt and outspoken there.
You were too opinionated for the opinionation
Opinion column, right?
column.
Yeah.
Probably had the wrong opinions, I would
Right.
imagine.
We actually don't want anyone's real opinion.
You're supposed to give your opinions in the news.
That's right.
Where it belongs, right?
That's right.
Or it could be misconstrued.
But anyway, I'm a grandfather now. Two little guys, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and what else?
Watch your plastic cards
What?
with those grandkids. Believe me, the plastic cards.
Oh, the credit cards.
Oh, those, yeah. Well, they're 4 and 6 right now. They're learning though.
okay, hang on.
They wanted to go to Build-A-Bear to get me a toy or something. They want my legs to get better, and they're very considerate though. They are that. Anyway, that is our panel for today. And first of all, we're going to go with a little bit of what we like to call fresh history, or fresh made, as they
Okay.
say on History Channel.
Jack, just before you get into that, we do have a caller on the line that wants to speak
no.
to us. But I just want to take a moment. As everybody knows, we did our remote broadcast of Meet the Chicago Historians at the community center here in Norwich, and once again, I want to thank everybody who was involved with us doing a broadcast over there last month. Rich Massaro, who's in with the museum, and all the people that helped us and allow us to be over at the community center to do our broadcast. I want to thank them very much. Also, my assistant James Rody, who was helped me. Oscar and James Rody helped me set all the equipment up over there the Thursday before, and then Monday Oscar and James Rody helped me with the broadcast. So again, thank you to everybody, and thanks to the community center. Now we have a caller on the line.
Okay, mystery caller.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Go ahead.
Jack.
Are you there?
Yeah, Dad, it's that.
Come on, Mr. Challenger, and Simon, please.
Let the folks at home know what your line really is.
Go ahead, Don. You're on.
Oh, all right. How you doing, fellas?
Hello? I can
What's your
hear you.
discussion today?
Okay. The 68 convention, Democratic Convention of 1968.
They're gonna be talking about the 1968 convention,
So,
Don.
is that ring a
Oh,
bell?
yeah, yeah.
It was in all the newspapers.
Well,
Some of them even in
well,
Chicago.
the police got a bad
I was
rap
having
on
lunch
that,
for-
right?
I know, I was one of them.
Well, identify yourself, caller. I think I know you are.
Yeah, Jack, I get an echo for some reason. I can hear myself talking to you.
Yeah.
I don't know
We can hear you.
how you could correct that. But,
So this Don
yeah,
Figueroa with Don Sports?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bad connection, Jack, but anyway, good luck on the show today, and hopefully you'll get something settled, huh? All right.
Well, everything you said, we usually enjoy ourselves and get a little steam off and try to have a good show in the process, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll do our best.
Okay. All right,
Okay,
Jack.
talk to you later. Thanks for
Take care
calling.
now. Bye-bye.
Okay, where were we? Oh, yes. Almost getting very close to break time, but when we will be talking about all what we call current events and what's going on there. Everybody knows, everybody keeps abreast of that more or less. We can't miss what's going on. We have the election coming up in November. We have a mayoral coming up next spring. And how many people got running in that now? Do we know?
It's about 12.
That was
Well,
closer
yeah,
to
there's-
20.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, there's
the heir to the royal family has announced.
That's right.
Yeah.
Has
Yeah,
announced that he is available for the William Daley,
Like Richard III?
son and brother of mayors of the city of Chicago.
Yes, I know.
Announced today that he is a candidate for the mayoralty.
I think we ought to get together and nominate one of us to run as our own candidate and representative. Bill, are you up to it?
Yeah, sure. I'd be glad to. I don't have the big family like the Dailies or the Kennedys, but sure, I'd be glad to.
Thank God.
so-
Get that petition out.
You
So,
really want to run?
A write-in candidate?
I run right up to Baraboo.
Write-in, right.
But that's where it stands now. Things are always interesting here with our elections
All right.
anyway. It's like entertainment. I think the rest of the country looks at it as entertainment from coming out of Chicago.
Yes.
I already told everyone who I'm voting for, Willie Wilson. And the reason for that is he will make a great mayor because you cannot understand one word that he says. Perfect, absolutely perfect.
Well,
for mayor.
Richie was the same way.
Yes, right. Well, he was close. You could maybe understand every third word, but Willie, you can't understand a thing he says, which is perfect. Absolutely
Politician,
perfect.
right?
And he's a very generous man.
Oh, that's right.
No.
Gives away his own money.
Well, no.
Well, I think if Bill Daley were elected, the city could save a lot of money. They've got to have stationery and envelopes stashed away in some warehouse that's that already imprinted
Right.
Mayor Daley. So
Right.
think of the money they could save on old signs that say "Welcome to Chicago,
Right.
Mayor Daley."
That's right.
I mean,
Bill
maybe-
Daley for mayor buttons.
You'll
Yeah.
sell Village
It would-
or
it
City
would-
Hall.
It would help.
Right.
It would help the budget problem with the city. If they,
Rahm came from the White House, remember? He was the
Right.
chief of staff there or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean,
He
you know.
danced his way around that one, though.
Ron famously said, he was quoted in the New York Times saying that the only way to deal with a conservative Republican is with a 2x4 across the side of his skull.
Wow.
Ooh, I
That
missed
was,
that.
that was Rahm Emanuel, a direct quote from Rahm Emanuel.
Are you sure he should?
Mr. Bipartisanship.
Gentile
yeah,
himself.
because we're always being told we have to be bipartisan and reach across the aisle, and
Yeah.
you don't expect to have a 2x4 coming your way when you're reaching across the aisle. So.
Wow.
No, it's mostly some
But he can get
rebar.
away with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You know, he can say
I think the New York Times thought it was kind of cute. I think they thought it was, kind of a,
Didn't take him
an
seriously.
interesting political commentary.
Well, right. Well, it fit in with the media agenda. It's like the McCain funeral when they were talking. It reminded me when they were talking about bipartisanship. While they were bad mouthing the current president of the United
Yeah,
States.
yeah. It was very
I
bipartisan.
couldn't quite figure that out. We must be bipartisan. Not hold any grudges. Oh, and by the way, screw Trump.
Yeah. Well, no matter what, I mean, it seems to be a little tacky to be even bringing that up at someone's funeral.
Well, that was my thinking. I mean, it seems to me when you're paying your final respects to a distinguished
Do it.
man, war hero, prisoner of war, congressman, senator, that's not a time to be working out your political grudges and setting political scores with people.
But correct me if
Yeah, but
I'm
get the
wrong.
audience.
Didn't his daughter start getting kind of political?
They all did.
She was. She was
Yeah.
totally
Yeah,
political.
all the speakers.
And like
were.
you say, there's a time and a place for
Yeah.
everything, but that's not
That's
one
not
of
the
them.
place. That's
Right.
neither the time nor the place.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
how do you disinvite people to your funeral?
It's got to be.
Gentlemen, it's time for our first break.
Well, Tom,
It's
if
time
you're
for
going
a
to attend
brief
yourself.
intermission. You've been listening to Meet the Chicago Historians.
Can you imagine how the media would have reacted if some prominent figure?
Do you suffer from pain? Do you know someone that has constant pain of their low back, neck, shoulder, knee, or wrist? Have they tried medications, exercise, physical therapy, or chiropractic, and nothing seemed to make it better? Well, I may have your answer. Why not try a napropath? Hi everybody, this is Dr. Wayne Chickowitz, and I've been practicing 30 years treating pain. I'm board certified and hold a diplomate in pain management. For your convenience, we have 2 locations. In Cicero, 3602 South 61st Avenue, 708-656-7000, or in Villa Park at 122 West St. Charles Road, Suite 1A, 630-833-4007. Why not try a napropath and stop the pain today?
Now back to our special edition of Meet the Chicago Historians. Jack?
Special.
I didn't know that.
Special because I showed up for a change, is that it?
I'm glad I showed up.
That's right.
I have been a little under the weather, folks. I miss saying hello to you every month this way, and hello.
We're glad you're back, John.
Hello,
And
hello,
for those of you who are watching us on television, knock it off. We're not on television, so
That's right.
anyway, getting back
Stop
to
laughing.
You can't get us with 2 Dixie cups and a string.
our
however. That's-
exciting Illinois going out of business state, and its election coming up. We have. Here's another remark made by one of the candidates about a miles driven tax on your car. They want to put a little more.
Oh, that's, yes.
That, I
They brought that up
actually
a
did
couple
say
years
that in
ago.
January. That was what's his name? You know, JB. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of the old line where they said the only reason that liberals don't tax the air we breathe is they haven't figured out a way to meter it.
Right.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Well, I said, how about a walking tax? Every citizen in the state of Illinois would be fitted with Fitbits, and to keep track of how much you walk, and it would be like a percentage, maybe a penny a step or whatever. So that would just encourage
Like
people
a
to.
pedometer on you,
Right.
like that?
I'd
Right.
like to see him put a rhetoric tax on politicians.
Hot air tax, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
They would have all the money in the world then.
I know Monty Python had an episode where they were getting around the table, politicians in England, of course, but they were thinking of taxing making love, you know. Don't tell that to anybody. Make
You know,
love,
the-
not war.
The automatic hand dryers that you find in restrooms, and there are stickers that people would put on the button which would say "Press here and listen to your congressman."
That's
good.
Very good.
I love you. Anyway, that I tried to do a little research on that, and there have been in Europe they've had taxes like that, and they were tried here in the United States on a couple of states. We had very favorable with the voters before it was put on, but afterward it went down sharply in no time. And the ones in the United States were basically done to commercial vehicles, you know. So let's tax those people some more, so they can pass the cost on to everybody else anyway. But they never occurred to anyone. We just have to make like you go out in the orchard and you trim down the deadwood off your trees and keep them nice and close to the ground, and you know, trim. Let's we do the same thing with government. Maybe is that possible?
Yes, you can do that at the voting booth.
Yeah, there you go. How about you, John? You're a recovering politician, right? John Kishelko?
I've spent a career in politics, but I've never subscribed to the notion that the purpose of government is to expend as much of the public's money as they possibly can and then holler for more.
Find some more.
Yeah.
If
Did
we
you
don't
win
have-
that, John?
Pardon?
Did you win?
I was successful when I ran, but in this state of Illinois, that's not a popular point of view. People who think that are very much in the minority politically in both parties in the state
Yeah.
of Illinois. This is a big government state,
Yeah.
and we're looking to become an even more big government state if Mr. J.B. should be the next governor. We're going to be more like New York and California.
Now, seriously, everyone, I want a little opinions here. Go around the table. Am I being a little bit overly, shall we say, cynical, or is so much of the big government just to provide jobs for word healers? What do you think, Dennis?
No, I don't think so at all. I think private business can grow. Private business can hire more employees. Private business can remedy a lot of things. I had the notion the other day to go to my favorite seamstress and have a red hat embroidered, "Make Illinois Great Again." What a catchy phrase, And if I were to put on the side of it, 45, but make Illinois great again. How long will it take for us, our residents, to get the message?
Okay.
Can't they look back 10, 20, 30, 50 years and see what's happened and who was in the driver's seat?
But what I'm asking is, do you think maybe that some people are running government like it's a job service for their political workers or something? I think it may be.
Yeah,
Hasn't it always been that way?
for sure.
They want to increase their voting base
Yeah.
with jobs.
Providing jobs for your supporters has been a part of politics for centuries, but that's not the prime motivation. I mean, the kind of deficits that we're running are not accounted for by the payroll, by people that are meter readers or padding the payrolls of departments or whatever.
What?
It's based on just the notion that government exists to spend money. I mean, there are people who think when they go, that's their purpose. Whether they're in Washington or in Springfield, their purpose is to spend money. That's what they do. It wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
It wasn't always the idea that you got reelected by telling people how many new programs you initiated, how many more people you added to the payroll. That's the way it is in Illinois.
Well, the thing about
You know-
programs are they never get axed. There's more programs on top of them, more regulations, more.
And they never end either. They just go in perpetuity.
Yeah, and it just
You know,
ruins
I-
the economy. It's slow, but unfortunately, there's no alternative in this state. There's never been a real conservative alternative in
Mr.
Illinois.
McKenna,
I saw an interesting statistic that the majority of millennials, young people, believe that socialism is preferable to capitalism, which is kind of shocking. I saw a tape of Milton Friedman, a prominent economist, and he said, to make this probably a very oversimplification of socialism versus capitalism, he said, look at what works. Look at what the end result is. And people that are in favor of socialism talk about all the good works that can be done, and on paper that's maybe true, but there has been more good done by capitalism. I mean, overwhelmingly more good done by capitalism than socialism.
That's not what kids are taught in school.
Right,
though.
exactly.
Their professors are all left-wing activists. I remember I had an economics professor when I was in school, and he was an outright. He admitted he was a socialist. And I went to a fairly middle-of-the-road school. I didn't go to a school that was noted for being that far left. But he made no secret of his contempt for capitalism and private
What an
enterprise.
indictment on the education.
And that's a long time ago,
Sure.
and it's
Look at
gotten worse since.
Look at Bernie Sanders' success in the last election. I mean, anybody that knows anything. And again, getting back to Milton Friedman, when they talk about the 1%, the economy, and how terrible that is, he says it's not terrible at all. It's the direct opposite. If someone gets richer, and the top end, the low end gets richer too. it's a major mistake for people to think, it's like a zero-sum game.
Exactly, yeah.
That if the rich lose money, the poor gain money.
Yeah.
And it's
Doesn't work
it's
that way.
absolute direct opposite.
So if I'm wealthy, it's because I've screwed a lot of people out of their money or something.
Oh,
like cheated.
What
exactly.
people are talking about socialism is getting very close to Marxism.
The objective is not to cut up the pie. The objective is to bake a bigger pie so that everybody has more. It's not.
Right.
It's not you take something away from the other guy. And the irony is, it was never like that in America. That type of soak the rich never was really that popular in the United States.
Let's
It's only today that it's.
look how well socialism is working out for Venezuela right now. Huh? Good example.
Has it worked anewhere?
Yeah,
No.
everywhere it's in power.
I mean, here they are right on our own doorstep, and it wasn't always that way. They're loaded with oil in Venezuela, right?
They're a potentially rich country. They have huge oil resources.
A lot of
But
shortstops come out of
America-
there.
Russia is a potentially very rich country, but they've been hobbled by
Who's that?
socialism. Russia.
Oh yeah.
Been hobbled for all those decades with communism.
It went from socialism to communism, which is complete takeover.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have no incentive. If somebody has incentive to do something, the government's got their thumb sit down.
Well, the true communist believes that this socialism is only a middle stage, that someday they're going to change human nature. Everybody will voluntarily live in little communities
Yeah.
and farm and love each other, and they won't have to have all this other...
Look at
government.
China.
So that no matter how many million people have to kill to prove it, right?
China only became successful because it kind of tossed or put communism on the back burner
Yeah.
and adopted capitalistic ways and means.
to a certain extent.
Still government control, though.
Yeah, well,
The successful part
But
of
they're
it.
allowing people to get rich. It's like a safety valve. They're allowing a sufficient number of people to get rich, to have opportunity to build businesses, although the party stays in control of everything.
Right.
Did anybody see an article here just a few days ago, and I just saw the top of it, I didn't read the whole thing, about, was it Illinois is one of the biggest oil producers now?
Well, I know coal. Supposedly Illinois is the Saudi Arabia of coal.
No, this is oil. This is
no, I
oil.
didn't-
It must
I
be
didn't see that.
that fracking where they pump water in it, pump the oil.
Or whatever it is. Just,
I didn't.
They say that
I
it's
didn't
the
see
hot-
that. I
yeah,
don't
the
doubt it,
largest.
but I didn't see it.
What kind of oil?
Regular oil.
Olive,
Castor.
olive oil.
Yeah, olive oil. French fried.
I think right now the United States is once again the second largest producer of oil in the world, and we may in a few years once again be number
number
one,
one,
as
yeah.
we were for decades. We were the
Yeah.
biggest oil producer. We've already passed up, I think, everyone but Saudi Arabia. I think that's the only country that still produces more oil than we do. So,
And once we do that, we can say, hello, OPEC. Goodbye, OPEC.
yeah,
But we'll give it
Well,
away
pretty
to
much
all
it-
the other
that's-
countries that can afford to buy it.
yeah.
OPEC, by the way.
Point though that just in a general survey, let's say of American history in the last 100 years or so, the trend toward big government is supreme. Otherwise, we'd be, let's say, in the era of McKinley, when about all government was expected to do was provide local defense, deliver the mail, collect tariffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, as it
So-
says,
Run the national
So how
parks,
you
and that
mix
was it. Yeah.
socialism and capitalism?
Sell ice
there,
cream?
but,
it says in the Constitution, the federal government's duties will be, or their obligations or duties will be few and limited, and they'll also be expressly, expressed.
but once you say it's government that would be best to solve problems,
Yeah.
then you have that leading to the New Deal and everything since
Yeah, you create the notion that if anything goes wrong, government is supposed to do something,
Yeah,
and preferably the federal government is
not
supposed to
private
do
charities
something.
or anything
No,
like
no.
that. No,
Yeah.
that's the big distinction.
Well, there was, what was the year they had the big panic in the 1870s, or what was the year?
Well, there was 1873, 1890. There was the worst depression we ever had was in 1893.
And what did the government do?
That's right.
Got out of the way and let it correct
Yeah,
itself, right?
there was no
Yeah.
great government program. We had another bad recession in 1907. They used to call them panics.
Right.
Yeah.
And they actually invented the word depression because they thought it was better than panic. They thought depression sounded better than
Right.
panic. But if you read the history of the 19th century, they always talk about the panic
Yeah, that was.
of 1857, the panic of 1873.
And
Now we think depression is the bad word. So
They
we say
avoid that at all
recession.
costs,
Now it's
yeah.
a recession.
And
What
I don't
next?
know who it is, but banks or somebody's predicting another one in a couple of years. I don't know.
Yeah, they were,
Stock market
they were
in the
talking about
company.
2020, but some investment company said that, yeah, it's a 36% chance that it will happen in 2020.
Right.
So they're not really overly concerned.
I think our economy grew in the last quarter at a rate of over 4%,
4.1.
which is interesting because the world's greatest community organizer a few years ago said we would never see 3% growth again. That
Right.
it was gone.
Right.
And anyone who talked about 3% growth was lying to the people because it ain't going to happen anymore.
Right. He ridiculed
Yeah.
our present
Well, they say that to keep
president
control.
because he said, what has he got, a magic wand?
Yeah.
Ridiculed him.
Yeah.
And, well, guess
Yeah.
what? But see, now, what he said was impossible to actually happen did happen, and now he's taking credit for it.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's all, we owe it all to him.
You gotta love that.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. Oh, well, it did happen. Okay, well, I'll take credit for that.
It all started with me.
And they let him get away with it. It's, wait a second. Aren't you the guy that said it would never happen?
Well, you see, we had a dismal economy for 8 years under Barack Obama because of Bush.
Bush.
That was all Bush's
Right,
fault. And
yeah.
now, just as he left office, his brilliant policies kicked
Right.
in, and that's what we're benefiting from.
Abs-
That's the way it works
timing.
now. That's the way it works.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad you straightened that out.
Thank you. I'm glad I had an opportunity to explain.
But anyway, getting back, Illinois, we hear people talking about more taxes here. Just so we needed some more taxes, isn't it? What was the percentage you said, Tom, if somebody living in the city would
Yeah,
pay?
in the city of
let's say-
Chicago, they did a study, a single person that makes $100,000 a year, through federal income tax at 28%, state income tax at, I was going to say 5%, but excuse me, it's 4.95%. Property tax, if he owns any type of property, he will pay half of his income in tax, just in federal, state, and property taxes. That doesn't include all the other taxes, gasoline tax, food tax, every other tax. So half of your money is going in taxes.
Is there, or you think there's a chance to talk about a city tax also? They've
Oh, yeah,
they've
yeah,
done that
right.
before.
If they
Yeah.
can get away with it, they'll do
It can only
it.
come eventually.
Yeah.
New York has a city and has for years had a city income tax.
Well, I know that they've talked before, and I'm talking about when I was still a young guy living at home. Not that many, at home, and they were talking about it then. I would say around the time we were in Explorers, high school age, Bill Boyd was our advisor and all. They were talking about the tax would be taxing anyone who got their check out of Chicago working. In other words, if you lived wherever, but
Suburbs.
but your company was here, they were going to tax you too.
Oh, okay. Right, okay.
So Byrne talked about it again, and when I was working my part-time job at the big jewelry store downtown, no longer exists, S.A. Peck, I said to one of the sales ladies, want to thank you very much for the raise you're going to be giving me. She says, I don't live in the city. I said, right, don't you know what they're talking about? And I told them, they're talking about taxing you get your check right out of here,
Right.
So,
But on the other hand, I've got a nephew. He's a mayor in a little town in Wyoming.
yeah.
They have no income tax.
Yeah.
The state owns oil wells, and they take the benefits from that.
Yeah.
But like at college, if you've lived in the state for 10 years, they pay your college.
Yeah.
And they pay part of your real estate taxes. He was in here, and I said, Scott, how much you pay for real estate tax? He says about $1,300 for two houses. And he says part of it, the state comes and pays part of it.
Wow.
Yeah, but the problem with that is you're still living in Wyoming. So you have to take that into consideration.
It's either that or Indiana.
Indiana's got it pretty good, don't they?
Yeah.
Do they have a state income tax? No.
Talking about taxes, you get back to our friend, the savior of the state of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. He doesn't even wait until he gets elected to say he's going to raise taxes, but he's going to tax the rich.
Yeah.
See, the rich are going to get taxed.
You'd be surprised how many people will be shocked to find out that
They're
they're
rich.
rich when they get their.
Well, that's it.
People
See,
never realized that they
Right,
were that
but-
affluent.
Right,
you know?
a graduated income tax. California has a graduated income tax. I believe the state income tax, the top
Right.
level, I think it's 13.9. But while the tax in the state of Illinois is, again, I want to say 5%, but it's not. It's 4.95%.
Whatever.
The lowest level in California is 6.9%. So,
That's what Ralph Cramden pays.
Right.
That's the
But,
bottom of the
you know, if they increase the taxes on the rich, they don't pay it. They just pass it down to the little guys.
Well, that's what corporate taxes are. There's no such thing, you know. That's a cost for sure.
It's just a cost of doing business. You just pass
Like-
it on to the person that buys your product.
Like, who was it that comes up, they want a $15 minimum wage? I don't know
It's
who.
been talked about
Oh,
for a
that's
long
been
while.
talked about for, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody.
McDonald's people.
Yeah.
and McDonald's has already gone to the automated,
I understand that old,
Automated
what used to be
servers.
rock and roll McDonald's is now the automated,
There's
yeah, a lot of them are. Yeah, I've been in
In a
one.
way, it's pretty decent,
what?
that automatic thing.
Yeah, but I mean,
Well, right, with the automated, you have a reasonable chance of getting what you actually ordered.
Right.
Where in the present system, a buddy of mine calls it the bingo bag. When he goes through the drive-thru, he's a traveling salesman. He goes through the drive-thru,
It
he orders, then he can't wait. He says, I can't wait to open my bag to see what
See
I
what I got.
see what I actually got.
Right.
Hey, are you saying this new McDonald's is something like a Horn and Hardart automat?
No, it's not that. It's not
The
that
old New York City
automated.
automat
Kiosk
with the
is-
You
little
give them
glass
your thing, and they
compartments.
give you a number, put it on your thing, and they bring it to you,
Yeah.
which
So
makes
you
it a
still
lot
got
Oh,
those
faster.
employees, but-
that's not the McDonald's system. That's Culver's does that.
Right.
The McDonald's system is they tell you which station to pick it up after you pay for it.
Oh.
Oh, this
is
one,
something
this
good.
one's I've had, but even that system depends on the franchise owner. There's one in River Forest. They're terrible. I mean, there's the new quarter pounder. They're supposed to make it, cook it when you get there.
Fresh meat.
This guy had them stacked up 6 high,
Yeah.
and it still took a half hour to get a quarter pounder hamburger.
there was, the whole thing is symptomatic of, you hear about all this minimum wage, this, that. Go back a few years, you used to have your choice at a gasoline station of attendants or automatic, right? You don't see any attendants anymore, do we?
No, not that much.
Right?
There's
Thing of the past.
there's a few of them I've seen, but they charge 50
Where?
cents a gallon to pump the gas.
Yeah, I was going to say, where are those places? They kind of priced themselves out of business.
Three Stooges ran one in one of their
Right.
shorts. I remember the Three Stooges.
From
Super-
1938 or something?
Super service, yeah.
Yeah.
Super service.
Yeah.
Frank
Remember,
White-
Illinois was a little slow to get on the self-service bandwagon.
Right.
Back in, I think, in the 70s.
But
Yeah.
back then, you could on Sundays you fill up your gas and they give you a newspaper or plates.
Friday night or Saturday night, remember? Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the Tribune, you get some cups, some soap,
Right.
towels.
Yeah.
No more. How about Gas Wars?
Yep.
Remember Gas Wars?
Right.
29 cents. 28 cents.
But now it's all up to the guy who runs the gas station. I come down Harlem Avenue, and the prices within 2 miles, they're 10 or 15 cents difference, and they're all buying the gas from the same company.
I think it was in 1971. I was visiting my grandmother in my ancestral state of Kansas, and they were having a gas war. And I think I paid as low as 19 cents a gallon for gas. It was
Wow.
23, 21. I found a place for 19 cents a gallon for gas.
The cheapest
I remember in Chicago,
remember was 26.
It was
26 cents.
19.9
It's the
for a
cheapest I
long
remember.
time in different gas stations around here.
I remember getting a quarter. Hey, Pa, give me a quarter. I need gas. Yeah.
Wow.
And how long will we have gas prices in fractions of a cent?
Yeah.
Seems by now when you're in
Yeah,
the
0.9.
multi-dollar.
Yeah.
Well,
As
yeah,
long
they
as
do
I can
that.
remember.
And it's
Yeah,
not
oh,
just
yeah,
the
no
gas
doubt.
stations, it's business as a whole. You know, we're going to give you something for under $5. Yeah, $4.99.
that's
You know,
But the machine kicks it up anyway.
yeah.
Whatever became of the company that manufactured those coils that they would have stretched across that would ding remember when you would drive across
the-
them and
Yeah,
it would
yeah.
ding, it would ring the
Somebody
bell.
could run out,
Yeah, it was like a hose.
That poor guy probably went out of business. 'cause
It
they
ran
all-
out of
Yeah.
ran off of air pressure.
Yeah, you
with-
ran over and you heard that
Yeah.
ding,
Ding, ding,
and-
yeah.
And the guy
Here I am.
would come out
Yeah.
with
A
a
couple guys
bow
come out
tie
here.
and a
Come
white
out with
shirt.
the bow tie and the cap. And
Yeah, you're going back now.
Gentlemen, I'll tell you, up in Elkhorn, Lake Geneva, Delavan, the gas this morning or yesterday and this morning, it was $2.79 a gallon. Up in Janesville, my sister and I went up to Janesville yesterday. It was $2.64. When I was coming down Route 12 this morning in Fox Lake, it was 264 at a Thornton gas station right on the corner of 12 and Grand Avenue, if you guys know where that is. There's a Thornton station there.
I paid 239 in Arlington Heights the other day, John.
Is that right?
And across the street, it was 269.
Yeah.
Now,
Now,
how could that guy, I
Now-
mean, you know, anybody with any type of
Say, about around
of
25.
education is
now,
gonna know
Must
the
have been
difference.
Cook County
Last-
on one side, because one side of the street, it was 309.
Yeah.
The other side, it was 289.
Yeah.
Sure.
now
I
this,
mean,
Welcome
why
to
would people-
Chicago.
Huh?
Number of them.
What
Chicago.
was Chicago? 15 cents?
What, tax?
Gas tax?
Oh,
I think it's more than that.
Gotta be more than that.
You
No,
know,
I'm talking about the city tax.
if you get out toward
I don't know.
where your city limits are, you don't see many filling stations till you get in a few more miles. But then all of a sudden, all along the peripheral, there's all these stations anyway.
Well,
it
on
makes
Harlem
me-
Avenue, you see one is Elmwood Park and one of them Chicago. And sometimes there's difference in prices.
I saw
but
one the other
sometimes-
day, it was 369.
now Friday when I went up to Wisconsin, on Route 12 and Bonner Road, there's a Citgo gas station right on the corner. Gas there Friday when I went up about 12 noon, the gas was $2.59. This morning when I came back, it was $2.99.
Venezuela owns them, don't they?
They got something, because remember, they'll drop the price down a cent or two till they get down maybe 20 cents. And all of a sudden, overnight, it'll go up 30 cents. And they just
Well-
keep doing that, and they make money like that.
That makes me think of several years ago, there was kind of a tough time going on. So the state was waiving part of its tax on,
Right.
and we're sending people around to make sure that you sell it. Well, if I have a gas station, I can sell it for $20 a gallon if I want. Nobody's going to buy it. But how? You know, that says what a little bit of a BS that was with the. We're going to make sure that they give you the right prices. And
But didn't the state come up with some kind of gouging law, anti-gouging law? If they brought it up more than a certain percentage, they could go after them.
we ain't talking about
Only the
wrestling.
Only the state gets to gouge you. Nobody
Do
else.
they have the anti-gouging
Well, it has nothing to do
police?
with gas either.
Yeah.
How is it that we warrant a special mixture of gas
Yeah.
certain
Every
times of the
state's
year?
different, isn't it?
I don't know
Yeah,
what,
the
you know,
blend. Yeah, when they're
a certain blend, and that's more expensive.
Yeah, in spring. Yeah, when they're switching to the summer blend.
How did I get away with that? Yeah.
Who came up with that idea? That's what.
Is that nationwide? I
Probably
don't know.
EPA. It's probably pollution regulations.
Yeah.
Like to see that.
Corn growers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, look into that.
You know, farmers have to dye their corn green so they can't sell it as food.
That's a new one.
How about that? I thought corn was for eating.
What's that, John?
I thought corn was for eating.
Uh-oh.
Eating, you know. Corn on the cob.
That's
Cornelius Cobb
Feed a lot
Corn
of
cob
livestock
pipes?
with it.
and a button nose.
they had an October.
anyway, that's a ways off.
Oak Park, and some guy had corn, and that was the best corn I ever had.
But how are we talking about gouging now? How we get into wrestling?
Wrestling.
That's right. And our,
Come on, answer somebody.
our moderator is a former professional wrestler.
Who?
I dabbled.
Yes,
You
he
did?
he dabbled in the
Dabbled.
in
that,
the arts.
that answers a lot of
the arts.
questions.
Dabbled?
I dabbled a little. I know. When I was in Chicago Lawn, and we got a new commander. It was that what the hell was his name? James. Who came from Youth Division.
Yeah, they call him Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I can't think of his name now. I'll think of it later when I'm going to sleep. But anyway, he says Bob Davino, I worked with in 21, drove him around. So he comes over. He must have told him. He said, "Yeah, Ryan, you were a professional wrestler, huh? What was your name? What did you weigh? Where did you wrestle?" And he says, "Oh yeah, and Hollinsworth, James Hollinsworth." Yeah. And he says, "What did you? What was that stuff phony or what?" And I said to like this. I said, "Let me put it to you this way." It's the second phoniest profession I was ever associated with.
The
Know what he says?
second one is-
What's the first? right over his head, you know, TWA.
It was one of those bosses that
Teeny
they
weeny
used to say, not only doesn't he know anything, he doesn't even suspect anything.
We got them. You got them in the fire department too, Bill?
All over.
Yeah.
All over.
Seems like could they seem they have the right relations. It seems to overcome those shortcomings, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's called, what do they call that now? Politics?
Clout.
Or
Coming-
that's the name of it.
Coming
Spoil system originally.
coming from the ward office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's your letter?
That's right.
Go.
Gentlemen, you've been listening to Meet the Chicago Historians, and we thank you for it.
Gentlemen and
We'll be
ladies.
right back.
Unfortunately.
Well, friends. Well, friends, even though today is Monday, September the 17th, it won't be long when we're going to be experiencing that bad weather. Yep, it's not too far away, even though it's in the 90s today, Monday, September the 17th, but in a few months, we're going to be having rain, ice, snow, and all the freezing temperatures. And now is the time to start thinking about the roof, siding, and gutters on your home. Be sure the roof, siding, and gutters in your home are in good shape. You don't want mold or mildew in your attic or crawl space, or drip, drip, drip on your ceilings in your rooms, or have your walls damaged by leaky gutters or bad siding. So don't have double expense. Sooner or later, it's got to get taken care of. So why not call Best Brothers Roofing, Siding, and Gutters at area code 630-616-1359. Mike Besh will drive over in his shiny red truck with ladders on top, and Mike will look over your roof, siding, and gutters, give you an estimate, and go from there. So once again, friends, don't have double expense. Call Best Brothers Roofing, Siding, and Gutters for a free estimate at area code 630-616-1359. That's Best Brothers Roofing, Siding, and Gutters at area code 630-616-1359. Now is the time to make sure that your roof, siding, and gutters are in good shape before that nasty, nasty winter weather comes upon us. So again, call for a free estimate. Call Best Brothers Roofing, Siding, and Gutters at area code 630-616-1359.
Now back to our show. Jack?
In the Beverly Hills or somewhere. Well, hello everybody. Thanks for coming back. We're good to see you, and it's good to have you on a beautiful day like this. We want to get down now, and it's too bad Tom McKenna's gone, to our topic of the day, which was the 1968 Democratic National Convention. And I know two of us were on the police department then, and you were on the fire department. And what did they put you on long days then or anything? Or?
No, we were told to, keep our nose out of it.
Well, yeah, I mean,
More or
unless
less.
you called for it.
I
Right?
know I was in the 5th Battalion for that, and it was
Now, where's that?
it was quite. It was the yuppie neighborhoods. They were up at Halstead and Diversey.
Mhm.
Like Boys Town.
And Boys Town and that, and it was a lot of fun up there with that. Yeah, Lakeview, and we were called in and we were told, just keep your nose out of it. Police will do their business.
Right.
Yeah, well,
No.
Was that convention held at the amphitheater, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
43rd and Halstead?
Yeah.
I think it went to, 47th or something like that.
yeah. And then they went to the hotels downtown.
that's where
got
most of
down
the stuff
there.
was, I believe.
Yeah.
Conrad Hilton.
They got to go where the cameras were, though, right?
Oh,
There you
absolutely.
go.
Well,
Yeah.
that big chant, the whole world was
Now,
watching.
I was on. Tom McKenna was right down there at the Conrad Hilton. He could tell you some really good stories. Too bad he had to go. I mean, he was right eyewitness, eyeball first class. And what were you doing then, Dennis Fitzgerald? What were you?
I was I worked the wagon back then, and so that is to say, you
Where?
know, we do prisoner transports.
Where
and
were you?
We're I was in Wood Street, the 13th district, and but then, you know, out of roll call, they would attach you or send you with the detail, you know, to given locations to supplement the manpower, things like that, where they anticipated, you know, problems, and they were trying times for us all. We were all held over. You know, there was no such thing as an 8-hour day.
No, he had. Remember what they did during the week of the convention? We were on 12-hour days, so the second watch, that is the second shift days, on police departments would be the first. Industry would be the first shift, and police department second watch. Your day starts with the new day, so the first watch is midnight to morning. So the days is the second watch. So the second watch, of which Tom McKenna's group was on at the time, with the rotating going on, they were the ones who were the detail from the second district to downtown. So the second and third districts were right around Conrad Hill, right there, you know, ground zero, right?
Right.
And I was on midnights, which either you were working 11 at night to 11 in the morning or midnight to noon. So the two other watches covered the whole district, and the other was on the detail.
Then you just mentioned about being in a wagon. Not to get off the subject here, but it's kind of a cute little story. I was getting the papers at Montrose and Pulaski the other day, a couple of days ago, and while I was in there, my God, there had to be 6 or 7 squads pull up to the corner, and I asked the guy, he says, "What is going on?" And he said, the homeless guy over there is creating problems again. And I thought, well, with a homeless guy with all of this? Well, I walked out, and there was a copper that was coming in, and I said, "What's going on, pal?" He said, the homeless guy over there that sits on the corner, the southwest corner, he's got a little plastic bucket there that he turns upside down. He sits there, and he got a sign, and he gets the people as they come off of the bus. He said, but the guy, he let go right on that side. He couldn't hold it anymore.
Yeah.
And I guess he just not urinated. He did his business.
Yeah.
All over the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Bill,
wait a minute. Here, so here comes the wagon. All of these guys, the big guys in the cars and that. Here comes the wagon. And who comes out of the wagon but a little blonde putting on the plastic gloves.
Female, you mean?
It was her, yeah. It was her job. And I thought, look at all of these guys standing around there.
When you get a dirty job
Then I saw this guy Casey. He's at 16. He came into the restaurant, and I said, "Hey, what was going on over there? Anything good?" He says, "Bill," he said, "you should have heard the radio." He said, "The police radio." I'm saying, he said, "You never heard such funny stuff in your life." He said it was absolutely unreal.
Well, you got to deal with it. You know, that's your job. In the absence of police, what else? It's not streets and sanitation. It's not forestry. It is the police. And I'll tell you what, they shouldn't be as permissive as they are now. You know, I'm from a different era. I've been retired 17, going on 18 years. And, you know, you got to be, you can't tolerate that stuff. The business community, they got to do business. They can't have this in front of their businesses or in the back or
what
whatever.
would you have done then?
Well, I'll tell you what.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Call the fire department?
Yeah. There are times where certain things, you know, but I'll tell you what, some of the things are, you'd be in disbelief that we had to deal with, and be assured the general public doesn't know what the police have to deal with, but these things have to be dealt with, and you cannot ignore them like what's being done now. You got major cities where it's such a horrendous problem. We were talking on break, like in Los Angeles and San Francisco. They've just hired a new category of employee to deal with the homeless and the garbage, debris, nails, needles, human waste, whatever their title is, but they clean up. and they're salaried at $180,000. They have coveralls, masks, hoods, rubber gloves, $180,000. But it kind of begs the question: what does a policeman start out at? $50,000, and this here is starting out at $180,000. In any event, you can't tolerate that. When you tolerate, it just manifests itself, and the problem gets worse and worse. When I drive around town now, I'm in disbelief under some of these viaducts. Talk about hobo Hiltons.
Yeah.
I mean, they got covers and tents, and up on the wrought iron fence, their bike is parked, and they got with their estate, they got the shopping carts with different,
A lot of them go under the divide, overpasses for the Harlem Avenue. There must be 40 or 50 guys there sometimes.
Yeah.
How is it the politicians' eyes are blind to this? I mean, because it's just not proper.
Remember a number of years ago, there was a big problem, and I guess it's back again. Lower Wacker Drive with the hobos staying down there, and apparently the city put its foot down. They closed areas off and fenced it, and here's a big bunch of people protesting their rights out there. One of them is Studs Terkel, protesting your right to live out in the open, huh?
Yeah, but what about my rights? When my wife is walking down the sidewalk, or when my kids are with their bicycle, or the family, we're coming down the sidewalk. So we should be right up next to this, walking right,
You're probably
Absolutely.
You're privileged. So
Well, you know what? My tax dollar pays for detoxification centers, pays for assist missions. There is other recourse other than living on the sidewalks and doing your business there, and and eating out of dumpsters and all that comes with it. Give it a little thought, and it's the wrong approach to ignore it, plain and simple. Sorry, Jack, I didn't mean to spend a lot of time on that.
What seems to be ignored generally in the news media is so much of the homeless is actually a mental problem. Mental problem working there. Wouldn't you agree, Bill?
Absolutely.
And the thing when they're panhandling, at least in Oak Park, I don't give them anything because I don't know the difference if they're conning you or if they really are.
Yeah.
Or if you're just adding money to them so they can buy a shot.
Right.
And most do, I think.
Yeah.
Give them money, they'll just.
We had a guy at Montrose and Knox, right by the police, whatever they call it. It's on the side of the road there, the side of the overpass. They've got all of the coppers that were killed in the line of duty. Did you ever go there?
No.
Yeah, it's a couple of years now
Was
that
it
it's been
Montrose
there. Montrose and Knox, right where you get on the expressway.
Who put that up there?
It's these guys that paint.
Oh,
And
okay.
They had a big.
A mural.
A big mural.
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, a big mural. But they had the people that who's were still around, who had relations that was being printed. All the names are up there. Every name.
Montrose
It's really
and
nice. But
It's
this
kind of
guy-
like on a tri-corner.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been there.
And
They got benches and all that stuff. Yeah.
no, there's no benches there. No. Thank God there's no benches there.
But Don, you make a good point. You
That,
perpetuate it. When you give them a handout, when you help them,
Yeah.
whether it be at the red light or if they're walking down, you just perpetuate the situation. And they're going to keep that
Yeah.
handout. It's like an addiction. They get spoiled on doing nothing but perfecting their begging skills.
Well, and they're counting on people who will give them money. If you don't give them any money, they're not going to be out there. It's like any other
And
business.
they got to do it now.
If they can't
because
make any
winter's
money, they're not
coming.
going to be there.
And this has nothing to do with being cold-hearted.
No.
Plain and
No.
simple. We could afford to give them assistance, but it's a greater problem than just that.
This guy, and he just died here about 8 months ago. He lived underneath that embankment there, right by the policeman mural, and I would say he was there for a good 2-3 years, something like that. And I talked to Brandt about it, and, what can we do? There's nothing, and I know that. There's nothing you can do. Once in a while, they'd take them into our ambulance would take them into a hospital or something, and I'd bring them food and no money. I'd just bring them some food. And then I thought, you know what, I'm bringing them coffee and I got out of the car one day to walk. I could hardly smell.
Yeah.
I mean, I could hardly stand the smell. He's doing everything right there,
Right.
and nobody's washing it down.
Mhm.
You know the thing. Well, finally he did. He passed, and
Passed
it
what?
was because it was OD.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
You know, Bill, I might add to it just something to contemplate. You know, other people take advantage of the situation and they hide amongst their ranks. Now, would you entertain the thought of Antifa? You know, how would you define them? If you go by North Damon and Milwaukee and you see some elements sitting on the sidewalks, looks like they haven't changed clothes for a month and a half, you know, do they fit the definition of Antifa? Seriously.
Yeah.
And so can they hide among the homeless? You know, and let's take our attention to maybe illegals. Could they hide in a tent city? And what do we know of them? And what will they do tomorrow? Maybe
How
to
many,
your backyard or whatever, you know. So
How many Middle East terrorists came through our southern border posing as a refugee from Honduras or Nicaragua or wherever, you know?
Sure.
There you go.
No, it's a
Yeah.
problem.
The federal boys don't know who they
Big
are.
problem.
They don't know. They hide in the system.
They come in,
Yeah.
folks. If you're listening now out there, they come in. They're brought in. They're without any identification. Who are you? Juan Sanchez, Rosa Gomez. They're handed a citation to appear, and then they're taken somewhere, anywhere else in the country. So it has less effect than a parking ticket would.
Right. I have a
Right.
question. Every once in a while, I'll see these guys walking around with medical masks on. What the heck is that with? With that? I see them every once in a while.
Are you talking about police?
No, street people.
Just street people?
Or maybe they're not street people. Maybe,
Yeah.
but you know, the white mask that the doctors wear.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they can't breathe that well or something.
I don't know. I think there's got to be something to it, but I sure as heck don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's a big problem, and it's not getting any better either.
Well, the first step in solving a problem is recognizing one exists, and some people just don't want to recognize one existing.
Yeah.
We had a guy. We talk about the homeless. We had a guy, the guys in the street. He was standing inside our building at 51st and Wentworth, the big complex, for a couple of days, and my partner and I were on the wagons. Do something with this guy, so we bring him all the way down. The Pacific Garden Mission was at 8th and State then. Remember the old one?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Put him there. Next day, just like a homing pigeon, it was right back, right back like a homing pigeon. So.
Yeah.
This guy, I went the next day, I go down Montrose, and here's the guy. He was sitting on his bucket right in the same place.
Well, you know,
He'll be back.
they go around town, with their bucket or whatever. They want to go out to the airport. They get on go
Yeah.
out to the airport. They want to go to Midway. They do. They want to go to the South Side. Now, do they pay fares? Of course they don't. Are they tolerated? Of course they are. Every public medium. How about the trams downtown? Oh, they're safe. They're sanitary. Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to encounter them down there? It's a huge problem. You can ignore it so long, but it will not remedy itself.
Don, like you don't give, and most of us don't give to just the ordinary guy with a bucket
Right.
and a sign. I learned all of that at the racetracks because we had that all the time. People, those people that get busted for losing all their money
Yep.
and they need it. But you can't give to these people. You just can't.
You really
Once you
can't.
start,
Yeah, and you got girls out there. You got some woman with a kid
Right.
next door, and your heart bleeds for them. But
It's all.
but
it's all
you don't know if it's a scam or if it's legal.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
We had we have a city clerk's office on Archer around what's east of Narragansett there. Well, you get your city stick or whatever. I was in there. So a girl comes up to me, "Sir, I need money to get to the north side." I said, where in the north side is that? I was being serious now. And and their boyfriend's over there, and somebody in one of the stores says, "Get out of the lot. We told you there's pulling the same scam." Either that or someone. This happened to the same guy. Hit me up at 22nd in Harlem at that Jedi with a Jedi.
Jedi Garden?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then again at Walgreens at Archer in Harlem a few weeks
same
later.
guy.
Same guy. I got to get over to Oak Park Hospital, he said. I said, well, I'll drive you there. No. And then the same thing, Walgreens, this time they go to, what's the one out, Ron Harvey. Anyway, he had to go there at that time. But I shouldn't say I didn't I did recognize him. It was the same guy. But,
We had a guy in Oak Park. He was notorious for panhandling, and it got to the point where he didn't even have to ask people; they would just give him $10.
Yeah.
But
Hey,
they busted him, right? Brought him to the county, and he had $300 in his pocket to make bond.
I was arrested when I was doing the job. Oh, no, excuse me. I was downtown, actually, my first tour down there in 1969 on the corners. I'm arresting this panhandler, and I said, you ought to be over there. You ought to be over there and do a little time. That'll do you good. He says to me, I get more whiskey into Bridewell than I can on the street. He was telling the truth, I guess.
Yeah.
Done it so well.
Can homeless still ride the L's back and forth in cold weather, like Howard's Blue Line?
They have
I think they cracked down on that.
Places where they can go in Oak Park, and there's a bunch of towns around it. When they fill, they give them a CTA pass so they can ride on the L's back and forth.
Hey, I want it too.
That explains probably the homeless is a big reason why they shut down public restrooms on the elevators and the subways.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, but
I never would go in there to begin with.
Starbucks opened everybody. Remember?
Oh, that's right.
Wait, what about Starbucks? I'm sorry.
Starbucks opened the restroom to everybody now, homeless, whoever,
After that.
Yeah, isn't that neat,
That's a
it's just what you need.
And can you imagine what those restrooms look like?
checking
You
everything.
have to be Jules Verne to imagine that. That would be in there, But anyway, I know we had a group over, lived around, I would say around 37th and Kedzie. There was a house there, a bunch of houses, and then one was supposed to have a bunch of dopers in it. They would go out and work the streets during the day. I'm homeless. He's got the sign, but I got a brand new rain suit.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, we had guys with $200 Nike shoes in a leather jacket, and he says he needs something to eat. I said, sell your shoes.
There was a lady who was pointed out to me downtown. She was there with her. She was blind. She was there with her Labrador. She used to sit somewhere, and the sergeant pulled up and says, chase her when she comes down. She's owned a couple of apartment buildings out somewhere. Just to come down and work the street, sit there. Of course, you're doing something. You're the bad guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think I seen her. She used to be in train station, L stations, wasn't she?
I don't know.
Or just before you got into there. I remember who you're talking about.
My brother and I were riding down north, where you get off the expressway and you're over Halsted over this way, and the Canal Port down that way. And there was she was actually a Mooney. when we stopped for a light, I rolled the window down. She comes over to talk to me. I says, "No hablo inglés." She goes, "You don't speak English?" I says, "Javol." She walked away. That works, Tom's got a trick. He sees them approaching. He gets out. He reaches for like a roll of Tom McKenna just left. A roll of paper. He goes, "Hi, I'm working with St. Rita High School band. We're having a raffle to get new uniforms." And they don't know what to say. One guy says, "You trying to be funny?" No, I'm working with St. Rita High School band. But that kind of works. What they say, they're in a rehearsal. They're in a script, so to speak, in their head. If you throw them off of it, they don't know what to do.
Right.
So.
And at least the city makes them use a cup.
What's that?
Most of the suburbs I've seen don't. So you don't know what these guys are coming up for you.
Yeah.
What for?
A cup? What
What's the city? If you're panhandling, you have to have a cup.
Oh.
I was thinking another use for it.
I ain't had a cup since Little League. John Stossel is the
Sure,
reporter.
sure.
He was on. He went out. He had a growth of beard, and he's panhandling somewhere right on Washington D.C. He said out at the end of the day how much was he gave it to some charity. How much he actually collected like that. So.
And they don't pay tax on it.
It's lucrative, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe going back to the 1968 Democratic Convention.
Right.
Well, we will after break.
I'm sorry.
No, we're not there yet, quite, are we?
You want to wait, John? Okay.
Well, we can go ahead. We'll give a little background on it. was the year of Vietnam was going on, right?
Sure.
It was going on hot and heavy. Many people were against the war, not just the yuppies, and
Oh, yeah.
I agree. People wanted out of there. Am I right? Would you say most of us?
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
I thought maybe using Dennis's background, to what extent could a point be made that it was a police riot? Remember that?
Well,
To what extent do they come to that conclusion?
yeah.
Do they interview police as well as protesters?
here he is,
What book is that?
Dan Walker.
I was going to say that came from Dan Walker.
Rights in conflict.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like this. If you have a problem, who handles it? Police do. We didn't start the problem. We didn't. But it's ours. It's like you have to handle fires and things, right? Different emergencies.
When the fire
Bill,
department shows
right?
up, they don't blame the fire department for starting the fire.
Most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
But
You know what? In the article that I've got, it says that these yuppies, early in '68, went all over the country and said, "Come on to Chicago.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
going to have a
It was a big
convention
publicity
there."
thing, sure.
And,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, and they join us in Chicago. We're going to have a big time, and rock ministers and minstrels and dancers and freaks, and we are there. And they're, they knew it. It was all planned. It was a planned thing.
anytime you get a certain number together of people, it becomes a mob, like when he told me. And we got a large group of people downtown. Okay, there are people who are generally concerned with expressing their opinion, right? Then you also have those who are there for a lark.
Yeah.
Be a lot of fun. Let's wait till the trouble starts.
Right.
You got a lot of, shall we say, loose women, maybe down there, yuppie type, you look around for that. And then you have the actual professionals who will get something going and usually manage to get out of the way when everything starts.
It starts, yeah.
If I could mention too, Rich, in answer to your question, let me invite your attention to south end of Wood Street at Madison and Western. You had organizations. I'm going to reference the Black Panthers at Madison and Western.
Right.
It was on my beat, and a few blocks away at Madison and Ashland was the Students for a Democratic Society,
SDS.
another social organization
Right.
with a militant faction called the Weathermen. Now, they would ferment their theologies in campuses, in schools.
Sure.
Young, naive, fertile minds. Good followers, not enough knowledge to be independent or to challenge things. So,
Raised in a white neighborhood.
yeah,
somewhere.
well, so then they would attract them like a magnet from the suburbs, from all. Yeah, precisely. Thank you very much. And still to this day, it has to be recognized that our schools it's an indictment on the educational system. It's being taken advantage of. They're not really teaching them the value of the Constitution, this, that, and the other. But I digress. So these organizations like this into the 60s with issues like maybe the Vietnam War or governmental politics emanating from Washington, D.C., whatever, builds up the momentum, the fervor, and you have clashes. And especially when who would be complicit? The news media, and you got the ingredients for something very volatile, and you see the same ingredients today. How many years later? You see the same ingredients today.
My dad had said they look the same. They're marching in the 30s. People look exactly the same in line. Those were, what do you call them? One time they were anarchists and they were communists, socialists, and it's all the same. The same.
What was to say? If you don't know history, you're bound to repeat it.
There you go.
Sure. If you don't know history, you'll repeat it.
Right.
And they're not teaching history.
That's right. That's why they're not teaching it. And as far as I'm concerned,
We also get some well-meaning instructors, professors, who they go to the wrong people to interview anyway. They don't know, what the real score is out there.
Well, I'll tell you. I speak very passionately about it. And here, years later, so I have a secondary job in my retirement, security at city colleges, and I see on the kiosk one of the city colleges that I could walk to from here, and it references about 5 years ago or so. Well, a guest speaker, Professor Bernadette Dorn.
Yeah.
Wow. Give her a prestigious title, and she'll put her in the auditorium with a bunch of empty heads, no knowledge and all that. Once again, good followers. My last day, after 19 and a half years, I pulled a pin on the City Colleges. I'll make this quick. 30, was March 21st. And I witnessed March 21st, a line about 30, 35. And they were just like being taught, okay? A line of protesters. And the students, and they had a little bullhorn teaching them the chants. Somebody carried a metal can with stones in it to rattle it, And so let's see, the bullhorn, the signs, and following the person in front of you. And they were going in and out the hallways. They had left the building. I thought for sure they would teach them how to, stop traffic for a lane or two and then come back. Then they came back in, more hallways. Went by the president's office, who was having a meeting, and one of the windows the wall is all glass. So they seen them. But no, so it's okay. We don't touch them. Yeah. Unbelievable. And who's paying for that, by the way? Your pocketbook, my pocket, the tax dollars. So what a shame. Once again, it all goes back to what an indictment on the educational system.
There you go.
Gentlemen.
And on that happy note.
We'll be right back after these messages of interest and importance.
That's what you talking about, Bert?
Hello, friends. Are you looking for a place to have some printing done? Well, I have the right place for you to go, and that is the printing store in Oak Park, Illinois. Call or see Phil Berry at 621 Madison Street, or call 708-383-3638. Phil Berry will sit down with you and help you plan whatever you need printed. Now, his products are brochures, booklets, business cards, catalogs, envelopes, letterheads, flyers, invitations, newsletters, notepads, menus, mailers, manuals, labels, posters, postcards, price list, NCR forms, sale sheets, table tents, pocket folders, and presentation forms. And he also has 1 to 4 color offset printing, digital copying, high-speed copying, graphic designs, typesetting, laminating, foil stamping, die cutting, and imprinting. And his complete bindery service includes booklets, cutting, scoring, folding, numbering, padding, and drilling. So once again, for all your printing needs, call or see Phil Berry at the printing store at 621 Madison Street in Oak Park, Illinois, or call 708-383-3638. They are located at Madison Street and Clarence, just east of Oak Park Avenue. And that's at 621 Madison Street in Oak Park, Illinois, or give Phil Berry a call at 708-383-3638. For all your printing needs, the printing store is there to help you. They're 621 Madison Street in Oak Park, Illinois. And once again, you can call Phil Berry at 708-383-3638.
Now back to our discussion. Jack?
Here we are, back to our edition, and now we are getting back to the 1968 convention, and we were in different modes then. Dennis was on the job. I was on the job. Bill, you were on the job.
Yep.
All in full. And John, you were in school.
I was in college. I was at DePaul University.
I saw you down there. I saw you down in Grant Park there.
You didn't see me in Grant. If you saw me at Grant Park, I was out on the lake.
That's just it.
He was on that horse.
Why would you want to go near someplace like that? I mean, we're going.
I was watching the convention on television. I
Sam,
love
best way.
politics. In fact, we had my family. They had bought a color TV. It was our first color TV in '68.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they knew I was interested in politics, and with the conventions were still a big deal. Today they're
Oh, yeah.
relatively
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, they were.
But
You're
in
right.
'68
Gavel to
convention,
gavel, yeah.
yeah, they were still a big deal. And so my dad went out and got a nice console. Color TV. So I was at home watching the conventions, the Republican convention. I was a staunch, and remain today, a staunch Nixon man. I admired Nixon, but I watched both of the conventions. So I was watching the TV, and I saw all of the nonsense unfold that
Yeah.
week of the Democratic convention.
We were talking here during the break about the non-history education that our people are getting. And yet, I see here in the paper this guy in 1968, Abe Peck, who was the editor of The Seed.
Oh, well, the seed.
Yeah, The Seed, the Yuppies paper. And, of course, he was right in the middle of that on the Seed side. And now, guess what he's doing? He's a professor in the Medill School at Northwestern University.
That's,
the Medill School is for
Journalism.
journalists.
Yeah.
Journalism, yeah.
oh, wow.
So you can see where the mindset is
Yeah.
on that. I've got grandkids that are grown now, pretty much. The youngest is 17, and it's interesting when I get them alone without their mother. I kind of question them in that, and they seem to think of both sides.
This has been a long time coming. It started in the '60s.
Oh, before that,
And
Yeah.
to get anything, we're gonna, or the Republicans or the conservatives, they're gonna have to do the same thing, but it's gonna take another generation. Okay.
Hopefully.
So Trump gets elected again. So that's 8 years. But people get complacent. Well, maybe the Democrats aren't as bad, or maybe this group isn't as bad. Let's try it. And
Rich, what were you doing at the time in '68? What were you?
I was a graduate student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Oh wow!
Little liberalism
one,
up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Was it liberal?
not a bastion of
Gee, was it liberal there?
This goes on to the 1970s too. Things continue.
Were you?
still is. The
You were taking a master's degree, or?
Degrees
doctorate?
which I never got. Yeah, became a professional student of history. All kinds of seminars and classes. I couldn't buckle down and do.
How
my
was it
research.
living there otherwise? Nice.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of bratwurst.
Not a cute little town. Yeah, not that far from Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Later, yeah.
Bratwurst. And,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Dennis, one thing I want, in reading about the 68 convention, now this, maybe you can put the end of this so-called lie, that a frequent target of some of the police were journalists, photographers. Now, at that time, the city had 4 newspapers, and maybe there was you get a middle-aged photographer, leave him alone, but, the young yippie types, were not so much respected by the cops. But do you think there was any singling out? Maybe Daley said this in so many words. Get those photographers. We don't see any pictures of some of this.
No, I don't know what happened before any particular picture. You'd have to, what went on before. I arrested a Daily News photographer shortly before the place folded. It was a bad snowstorm. I was at Dearborn and Randolph, doing the directing, and woman walking out, head down, never looked, and the car couldn't stop. It hurt her badly.
Ooh.
So the photographer comes along, and I said, "You can't block your." About the third time he's blocking. So finally, I walked him back. I said, "You can't be in the street." And he says, "Am I under arrest?" I said, "Well, yes." Since you said that, there was something went on beforehand. Is what I mean. What leads up to that? I don't think there was any particular go get this guy or that guy.
But I will tell you this, I've got a different perspective. I think this is the beginning of the public, and particularly those that are conservative, Republican, this is the beginning of their understanding of how biased and unfair and inaccurate the news media was. I think the Democratic convention, because people could see what was happening. They could see the demonstrators throwing rocks, throwing bottles, and yet the media coverage was all attacking the police. And at that time, I think there was a great reservoir of goodwill in the American people for police officers. I think they felt the police are out there doing a job, defending us and defending law and order. I think this is the beginning of people saying, hey, wait a minute. These guys aren't telling this accurately. They're slanting. So I think today it's a matter of common knowledge of how biased and unfair and inaccurate the media is. But I think it really stems in many ways from that 68 convention. That was when people had it really in their face.
And what you just
Remember
said,
when Dan Rather was put upon? And
Yeah.
Walter Cronkite is watching this. Well, we got a bunch of thugs here.
yeah, there were a bunch, yeah, right. I
Episodes
remember
like
the thugs,
that.
yeah, he was that
But
word.
at the convention, he had a JFK pin on. And
Rather did?
No, what's his name?
JFK.
Yeah, he was a news
Never
reporter.
should have been RFK.
No,
This is 5 years. John F. Kennedy was dead at this time.
No, this was before. Wasn't he running with
Humphrey and Muskie got the,
Humphrey Muskie.
Bobby
McCarthy
Kennedy had
was the
been
big anti-war
killed
candidate.
earlier that year, remember?
But who emerges
Bobby
as
Kennedy was shot, King,
Yep.
you know, there's just a lot of,
I think
King,
Eisenhower
yeah.
died a natural death around that time, didn't he?
could be.
Yeah.
who did?
who came out as the big hero of the convention? The man that the media tried to present as the villain, Mayor Richard
Yeah.
J. Daley.
Right.
I think
You can read his lips.
Daley's popularity skyrocketed. I mean, he won the next election in a landslide. He was
I'm-
Mr. Law and Order.
For what you just said,
Yeah.
we were at the, there used to be the Armed Forces football game, was the Bears and Cardinals usually. Remember that one?
Yeah.
The final preseason game. Tom was one, a bunch of us were there. And Daley was over across the way, and he left, you know, when the fourth quarter started or something with his, and he gets a standing ovation and sure, what's he cheering for? The mayor's leaving, you know. That's what that was about. Edmund Muskie said that wherever they went, they found that they were finding wide support for the police.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, look at when Daley made that statement. Look at the strength of that statement. You know, whether it be shoot to kill or whatever. He wanted to protect his city. You know, well established that he loved this city, and he wasn't going to let anybody chew up downtown.
I don't think that had
or
much
whatever.
to do with it myself.
You mean
He was,
create disorder? They're here to preserve
Well, that
disorder.
was
yeah,
Peyton's Mel.
Martin
Well, that's
Luther
true,
King
too,
got
yeah.
Martin Luther King got killed. And there was that week or so of
Right.
riots and
That was
whatever.
right.
It was about over when he made that business about
Yeah.
shoot a looter, wing a looter, kill a arsonist or
Shoot
And I
something.
don't think
like
they
that.
ever actually did. I don't think they ever actually
No,
shot
it
anybody.
was over by then.
No.
Yeah.
And you don't. By the way, you don't shoot to wing anybody. If
No.
you're using deadly force, you better be
You use
justified if
deadly
you
force,
kill
yeah.
him.
Once
You
you
know,
shoot,
you don't just, I was trying to shoot the gun out of his
You
hand
know,
or something.
before 1968, Richard J. Daley, outside of the city, he was the machine mayor of Chicago. He was the machine guy.
Of Cook
After
County,
that,
too.
he was Mr. Law and Order.
Yeah.
He was Mr. America. He was
Yeah.
a patriot. He was the guy defending law and order against the mob.
What you just said before, my own mother, not because I was on the job now, she was watching the local news, which showed confrontation. It showed throwing stuff. They showed the police wading into the national news the next morning just showed the police going into the crowd. And she knew right then, as you said before, they know they're not getting the whole truth.
yeah.
As someone recently said, the media today is like Pravda was in Russia, only the people in Russia didn't believe with the BS that they were being told, but ours
right.
do.
Yeah, those films we see over and over again, they don't show how the police were provoked.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
You
and
Get
Daley,
it down,
what
that's
looks
all.
like indiscriminate swigging at protesters, but
and when Daley did that long interview, you know, Walter Cronkite, he was the premier journalist at that time.
Right.
CBS was at the top of the heap.
That's right.
And he did that long, which I watched, that long interview with Mayor Daley before the session began. And Daley made that point that the media weren't showing he was talking about how they had golf balls studded with nails that
Right.
they
All
were
kinds of
throwing.
At least one guy
All
lost his
these
eye to
weapons,
that.
and he says none of that was being shown on the TV. You were only showing the police wailing into the crowd
Yeah.
with the nightsticks.
They were throwing plastic bags full of excrement and urine.
You mentioned that, yeah.
That's a
They
good way to
didn't
get
use that,
it.
They used something else. You know what got me even back then? The cops had helmets on, but they had short sleeve shirts.
Yeah.
it was August.
Yeah, well, but I mean now
I'll show off my triceps.
now they would have
They didn't have combat uniforms.
Right.
combat,
Yeah.
right?
They didn't have that, yeah.
Flak jackets and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
One of our guys, he was in the National Guard. He went down with he had a bulletproof vest underneath his.
That's when things, went nationwide too, when the National Guard was called in. And, those guys in the Guard are not trained like the Chicago
But-
coppers are, but somebody around here.
When that was
Yeah.
evident, didn't Daley get, who was it, Johnson, to bring in the Army? Because
No, it
remember
was
that-
National Guard.
National Guard.
No, it was the Army. Because
Oh.
remember they were
No,
they were camped out at O'Hare Field.
Well, maybe they were, maybe it's
And the
something
green
else.
Jeeps with barbed wire on the
Yeah.
front of them.
Yeah.
Barbed wire panels on
That
them.
was National Guard because they kept them
What-
out on
what-
Cermak Road and
Yeah.
Riverside.
There was a documentary recently. Then they said what people don't realize is that Lyndon had not given up the idea of being renominated at the time of the convention. And even though he had announced,
He wasn't going to run.
he was very unimpressed with
Yeah.
the way he thought Humphrey had conducted himself as a very weak candidate. He certainly didn't want McCarthy or McGovern. Johnson still held out hopes that the convention might stampede.
Draft him?
Yeah. He had not given that idea
right,
up
right,
during the convention. He never divulged that in publicly. But people close to him said that he was thinking that if this all falls apart, then they might come to me and draft me, and
that
I'll
was
come in
his thinking.
triumph and be renowned. Well, of course, it didn't happen that way. But he hadn't given up that idea.
So he wanted to be drafted?
Yeah, well, he drafted with
I heard he-
with help from guys like Mayor Daley Proby and
Well,
the
yeah.
party leaders who would have generated.
I heard he burned his draft card, though.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's another thing. They burned their draft card.
Oh,
It wasn't
yeah.
the draft card, it was the classification card.
Well,
you
you
got a
gotta have
solid,
two.
remember?
Yeah, you
Original,
have two. You
remember?
wanted to
Original?
show
You had
you-
the classification card. So even old classification card, burning 100 of those.
You had to have one that showed you signed up for it,
Yeah.
and then you had your
It would periodically change.
1A or something
Yeah,
like that.
whatever it was.
Well, John Kerry was always criticized for throwing his medals over the walls of the Pentagon. Now he said, "No, I only threw the ribbons. I didn't throw the medals. I only threw the ribbons." You know.
You know, I recall just a little side note, but maybe people aren't aware of it. So when you're confronted with challenging times like that, so you'd put on special equipment underneath. So you're in uniform patrol. Underneath your pant legs, maybe you would wear shin guards from a school baseball team or something. So you'd be protected because you know you're going to be getting in close. But I've seen. Remember, somebody had thrown an apple at us, and they had 2 nails in there. They were crisscrossed. And how would you dare to challenge an apple? But somewhere secreted on the body, they had 2 nails. You know, and so we were shoulder to shoulder protecting something, and this had bounced off a guy next to me. It bounced off his helmet, so it didn't do any damage. But as it fell to the ground, you seen the two nails in there.
Well, remember
yeah.
the one guy got hit standing in the line, Greg Kyritz was his name. He was a graduate of St. Rita High School. Tom McKinnon was standing right next to him. He was the tallest guy out there. And
he's
he hit him with a stone or brick or whatever. It could have killed him. It didn't.
Yeah.
But he said he remembered when he was there. They showed him with his wife. Was, by the way, she was in a family way at the time, in the hospital, and he said he remembers it hit. He remembers people cheering when it hit him. And Tom said, "Yeah, that's exactly what happened." You know, and so I mean, I remember we were watching. I mean, it was the week afterward, and Howard Miller had a talk show late night, taped on.
Sunday
Came on at
night.
like
Late
11:30 to midnight.
Something like that,
11:30 to midnight
on or maybe an hour. I don't know.
on ABC.
Yeah, Channel 7 here. And the one guy was an author, I believe, or something. And his statement was, and we had a laugh, people think that their rights are being violated because they can't throw rocks at policemen. But that's the origin of our rights in conflict of our friend, former Governor Dan Walker. This just came Saturday. I just could leave for anybody who want to look at it. Got some photos in there.
Did you get a pair of Abercrombie and Fitch boots as a premium when you got the book, or
No.
did they?
No, I got
they
that.
didn't give those away.
No,
Gave the
no.
books away with the boots.
That was at, I got it out of the Walker's campaign office. Because it seemed to launch as walking the whole state of Illinois, remember?
Oh yeah, Dan walking.
Should have
Dan
kept
Walker.
going into the lake.
Keep walking. Go to Kentucky. Go to Minnesota,
Scandal
Missouri.
touched him after he left the governorship.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
But
he.
they had nothing to do with the governors.
Apparently not. Maybe he was
Because it
making
was something
deals
with,
and he wasn't found
it
out.
was something like it was a violation of a loan law. He
with the guy
some
that-
bank, a big bank for
broke.
somebody, and he manages to borrow $28,000 from the guy he just got the. So it was like a little slush fund going there.
Illinois has a two-term policy for governors, one term in the State House and one term in the Big House.
Well, it's just like there's two convicts in the line at the cafeteria in the prison, and one guy says, "Jesus, food's terrible around here, and service is getting worse every day. Look at this place; it runs terrible." He says, "Yeah, you're right. It was better when you were governor." And we had Ryan, my cousin.
Ryan?
He was in there.
Any relation, John?
I don't think so.
Kerner?
Blago?
Otto Kerner?
Otto Kerner went.
Yeah.
Blago is still there.
Yeah.
He should be out, for God's sake. Cop killers that didn't get as much time,
That's a good point.
right?
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus. I mean, I'm no big fan of Blago. Get him out of there.
He's got, what,
Otto
7 or
Kerner,
8
you know, he
years,
did.
hasn't he? He's still got a
He got a
Race,
I think.
it had to do with racetrack.
Otto Kerner got a gift of some racetrack stock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably got some too that way.
Yes.
Anyway, and he didn't.
That was
from
from
the
Mars.
Vichyssoise family. Duchy-Sois?
No, it's before that.
Vicious.
Yeah,
Was
this
it?
is, oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, they declared an income tax, but he didn't. That was it.
That was Marge Everett that,
Marge Everett?
that
Okay.
whole thing. And there's still a corner lot right, I would say, kitty corner from the racetrack that just stands vacant.
What racetrack
And
is that?
that was Arlington Heights, Arlington Park.
What's up
Well,
with Maywood? Is
And
that-
Maywood is gone.
that's right.
Yeah.
Everything else is gone except Hawthorne.
Have they torn? I haven't been that way. Have they torn the racetrack down at Maywood, or is it still?
No, it's
standing?
still there.
It's still there.
It was a driving school
They
last I
were,
passed it.
yeah, they were
think
going to
it's
do
still-
that. They were going to have car races there, and
They did have.
They don't know what the hell they're going to do.
That was
with
at.
that.
I have not driven that way for quite
How
a while.
about Gladiator?
That's the one that was in
Gladiator.
Cicero. They had car track.
Sportsman, yeah, that was a fiasco. They
And
turned
was
it
that
into-
what?
turned it
Was
into
that?
an au-
they had it.
It
Is
was
that
a
owned
total
by Al
disaster.
Capone or is the one now?
When was the
Yeah.
dog track, wasn't it? At one time?
Sportsman's Park was
Way back, yes.
Arlington Park
Way
was
back,
too at one time.
Sportsman's Park was Al Capone was a somebody in.
You know more about it than I. I've never heard him connected with the racetrack, so I don't know. I
No,
don't know if
it's-
that's true or not.
Not that
we had
they
two
were.
tracks. We had Hawthorne, which is still there, which is in Stickney,
Stickney.
and had originally been in Cicero.
Just passed there
but then-
today.
Stickney.
and Sportsman's Park, which was in Cicero, and it was turned into an auto racing track, and that was a
Right.
total
Briefly,
disaster.
yeah.
Yeah.
You
Very.
hear the sound over in Garfield Ridge where I lived there. You could hear
They
it.
wanted about $40 for a ticket to get into the racetrack.
Yeah.
So I went into Sportsman's Park and got for $5 and went up the thing, and there was glass windows. I just watched it from Sportsman's Park.
One of my favorite clips from the convention was Senator Abraham
Yeah.
Rickoff of Connecticut.
The haughty Senator
Yes,
Abraham.
I'm not sure if he was nominating
next
McCarthy,
time.
but he
Yeah.
was right at the podium, pointing to the box where Mayor Daley and Richie Daley were sitting, and saying, if McCarthy were the president of the United States or the mayor of Chicago, you would not have Gestapo tactics.
Gestapo
Ribicoff,
tactics.
Abraham
of
Ribicoff. Huh?
Chicago.
And he stood
And Daley
Yeah.
and Richie are
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
saying the F word back to
No,
him.
they were saying faker.
that came out
faker.
later.
Faker.
Friends.
How they,
Faker.
how they might have solved that, yeah.
Yeah.
He was saying
I think
faker.
George Dunn was there with them too.
Yes,
I think
he was,
George
yeah.
Dunn and Alderman Tom Keene, I think, was there.
Yeah.
All the high
Well,
command.
naturally,
was
everybody
there.
around
Well,
the
he
block.
was the head of the Cook County board or something like that.
George
wasn't Daley?
Dunn.
George Dunn was
No,
president of the
Daley.
county
He
board.
was both.
Well, he was
Chairman.
chairman of the
Chairman.
Democratic Central Committee, the
Right.
Cook County, the city and the county
I don't think
Democratic Central.
anybody's
Committee.
ever been both since then, have they?
But you wonder
No, I
if the
don't-
Dailies were prone to vulgar
think
language
so.
at times, even on national TV. But the
Maybe.
faker,
No, he was
Sometimes it may be
not
appropriate.
the F word, but the faker word. And Richie
what?
was right there with
One
him.
of the things
Daley
to do
got
with
so
someone-
rattled that when right after that they were taking the roll to see if any state had a candidate to place a nomination. Apparently they had this procedure where they would go down the roll of states and you would say whether or not you were going to place a candidate's name in nomination. And Daley got so frustrated, he thought it was time to announce the vote. And he stands up and says, "We got 114 votes for Humphrey, 2 for McCarty, 1 for
McCarty
He
was-
didn't say McCarthy. He said, well, like there was no H in it. 2 for McCarty, 1 for McGovern, and that's it." He said,
A lot of Irish
That was
pronounce
like
it that
O'Hara
way.
Field.
McCarty, they'll say
McCarty,
McCarty. And yeah,
like
Hartney.
O'Hara.
Right.
Joe
Joe
Hero.
Mescal would say it that way.
Yeah.
McCarty.
McCarthy, yeah.
Yeah.
Getting back to where I told you about this vacant lot, that vacant lot is in the name of the Daley family.
Oh,
and they have never done anything with it. But that was it in that group with Kerner and.
Oh.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Otto Kerner, his father-in-law was Cermak.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, he was
Mhm.
married to Cermak's daughter, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. He was a major general, I think, in the Illinois National Guard.
Who's that?
Kerner.
Kerner?
Kerner had served in the National Guard and had worked his way up to, I think he was a 2-star general. If I'm not
He was the
mistaken.
prosecutor, the federal prosecutor in the
he had a distinguished record, you know. He was
the,
sort of a
the
blue
Tucker
ribbon candidate.
Tucker case with the car.
Oh, yeah.
He was the prosecutor in that.
Yeah.
Well, just
Made a
like
good
Robert
picture, by the
E.
way,
Lee
didn't it?
was
Yeah.
married to George Washington's granddaughter.
That's
Never
why it was
saw
kind of a
Tom Brady.
surprise, because he always had an image of being Mr. Clean, being
Right,
Mr.
right.
Honest politician, the
Yeah.
guy who wasn't involved in all the corruption.
Yeah.
And that.
And he was a distinguished, handsome guy. you see.
Yes, yes,
He
yes.
spoke at my Northwestern graduation in '61. He was the speaker.
Yeah.
Left a very good impression.
Well, he was governor then, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He looked like he looked like
He
a
looked
governor.
like a
He looked
governor.
like Hollywood's version of
Oh,
what
the
a
go-
governor
yeah,
should
that's
look
true.
like. You know.
From Central Casting,
Yeah,
that was your
central,
governor.
yeah, the central casting.
Yeah.
But then Walker looked pretty good too.
Yeah.
He was kind of some might say handsome.
I
guy.
thought Edgar was the best looking.
Edgar?
He, yeah.
Who's going to vote on this now? How about Shadrach Bond?
Don't remember him at all. Never saw a
Shadrach,
photo.
Jack, and Abednego.
Shadrach Bond, no?
I
Big-
met when I was in Springfield. I met Governor Stratton. I met
Yeah.
Williams, who was out of office for many years
Yeah.
at that point.
Did he get in trouble? Stratton?
Yeah, he was in trouble too. Yeah.
Did he go to jail? No.
I'm not sure. If, I don't know that he went to jail. I know he was in trouble. There was
What was his first name?
William G. Stratton.
William, okay.
William G. Stratton.
He was before
Very
Kerner.
personable guy.
Mainly in the Eisenhower
Extremely
years,
likable.
He was a
guy.
Republican.
I met him. He came to my office. He was in the wing where I was. And came in and I introduced myself, and I came away with a very positive impression. Just a genuinely likable guy. Yeah.
I met him once in 1960. It was the last bunch of the Eisenhower
Oh, you're going
Expressway opened between
Oh, okay.
Austin and
That was the
Carlo.
Congress Expressway, wasn't it still?
Congress, yeah. And it was all over an exit at East Avenue. In the Catholic Church, they fought it like heck because there was a Catholic school a block away. But finally, you know how Oak Park does. They make a mountain out of a molehill or everything. But they finally, in September of 1960, they had a big thing, and he came in on a helicopter. And
No, like this.
Was it Oak Park who helped get
It's
the
more like
Congress
it's more like.
to have their exits on the left side because of
Or was it a train?
no, that was because they went from 4 lanes to 3 lanes
gyro.
through Oak Park,
in 4
King
lanes in the city
Wesley.
going west to 3.
Yeah. There you go.
both ways.
Yeah.
Okay. But
And
exiting an expressway on the left
Hill
side is
of
a
the
little.
century.
those were the only 2 in the country that I know of. No,
Yeah.
there was one in Detroit.
What's that?
Oh, yeah.
Left exits.
Oh, those, yeah.
That was strange.
That's
But they're
tricky
still like
sometimes. Well, you got
Very
them
dangerous.
you got them when you're leaving the loop too on the left.
You do?
Some of them, yeah.
I think they should.
You know, yeah.
You know, I got to inject this as we reminisce through
Interject.
Chicago and Illinois politics and the different governors and where they ended up. It comes to mind that it's this method of politics that evolved to Washington D.C. via the Obama administration. And where did he learn his politics, if not for Chicago, the county of Cook, the state of Illinois? And look at his record of accomplishment. Zero. Yeah, only for 8 years.
The
though.
most celebrated community organizer that the
Unbelievable.
world has ever known.
People
Well,
ask
see,
me, who are you going to vote for, for
Laura Daly.
Yeah. With
And
such
he says, aren't you going to vote for Obama? I said, the last thing we need is a Chicago politician in the White House.
in the White House, to make such an astute bargain and give $150 billion away on pallets for nothing. Nothing in return.
Wouldn't you at least get your own American prisoners back first?
Well, didn't he
Hostages?
ship a whole bunch of
Unbelievable.
But you see, he can do that,
M16s?
and the media's they're looking the other. Huh?
See-
Well, we didn't see anything.
Yeah.
No.
They didn't
we
see
We
anything.
didn't hear anything about
thing
it.
you gotta remember-
Did you hear anything about money, Bill? No, I didn't hear anything about
The-
money.
the thing-
But let this guy that's
It's
in there
because it was an
now,
unmarked plane.
Go ahead.
let this Trump do his forte as a salesman and knowing what's going, and he gets kicked in the rear end and gets called an Obama, and you know, you can't do that. You know, thank God we got a businessman in there.
Thank God. At the 11th hour, we got him. You know, yeah.
But there's so much behind the scenes that we'll never know. I still.
Oh, I never. Yeah.
No, we see the
Because
accomplishments.
that's why they're because that might come out.
See, the thing about a community organizer is, I could come out of college with, I don't know, some useless useless degree or social work or something. I go to work for some community organization. Now, I'll move in the area. I'm going around all day long. I'm not making much money, but I'm talking to people. And all of a sudden, I'm some kind of an expert at these meetings. Next step is I run for something. So it's a stepping stone. It's a little training ground.
Pardon me,
like you're
gentlemen. It's time
giving
now
you-
for our last intermission.
Oh, well, when I say it
Listening
is.
to
Go ahead,
the
go.
Chicago Historians.
I thought you'd just be running, period.
Hello, friends. Do you need new tires for your vehicle? How are the brakes? Are they in good condition? How's your front wheel alignment? Do you need your tires rotated? How are the shocks and struts? Do you need an oil and grease change? How about a tune-up? When was the last time you had your engine tuned up? How about the wiper blades? Are they nice, sharp blades to clean off the rain and snow? How are the headlights, tail lights, stop lights, turn directional signals? Are all the bulbs working? How's your cooling system and the exhaust system? How about your battery? Does that need to be upgraded? How about the belts and hoses, fuel injectors, timing belt and chain, and the air conditioning? Is that all working properly? Well, if you need any maintenance work done on your vehicle, go to Grand Tire and Auto Service, which is located at 7034 West Grand Avenue in Chicago. They are on Grand Avenue on the north side of the street, about 2 blocks east of Harlem Avenue. You can't miss the building. There's a big Goodyear sign right on top of the building. Or you can call area code 773-622-4361. Don, Chris, or Ken will be more than happy to assist you and to help you with any questions you might have about the maintenance on your vehicle. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 7 o'clock in the evening. Saturday, from 7:30 in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And even on Sunday, from 9:30 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So once again, for any maintenance work you might need on your vehicle, go to Grand Tire and Auto Supply. Once again, their address is at 7034 West Grand Avenue in Chicago, about 2 blocks east of Harlem Avenue on the north side of the street. And their phone number is area code 773-622-4361. They have great service. Their mechanics are all certified mechanics, and they do quality work. Now, I've been going to Grand Tire with my vehicle since 1985, right up until this present day. So once again, Grand Tire and Auto Service at 7034 West Grand Avenue in Chicago. Their phone number is 773-622-4361. Don, Chris, and Ken will be more than happy to help you and to advise you on any maintenance work you might need on your vehicle. So once again, Grand Tire and Auto Service at 7034 Grand Avenue in Chicago, about 2 blocks east of Harlem Avenue on the north side of the street. You can't miss the building because there's a big Goodyear sign on the top of the building. That's Grand Tire and Auto Service, 7034 Grand Avenue in Chicago, and their phone number is area code 773-622-4361. For quality service, it's Grand Tire Auto Service, 7034 Grand Avenue in Chicago, 773-622-4361.
Now back to our special edition of Meet the Chicago Historians, Jack.
Well, we're not quite at the home stretch.
They had
We're
book
around the
burnings
far
in
turn.
Germany.
We were talking about little horses and whatever.
Was different. They called it
Anybody
crystal
else got
light.
something on their
They closed all the
mind?
Windows and all this
Bill?
broken glass was glittering.
Ah. Anybody else?
Ooh, sorry.
Something on their mind.
Did I
Subject.
hear a noise?
What else?
Sonic boom.
Did you
What
swat
else
a
besides the National Convention can we talk about?
You know,
Come up.
I'd invite your assessment. You think it's relative, but I think part and parcel of this is maybe the lack of patriotism. Is that tied into this some kind of way? You know, once again, the young, naive minds. Is there a lack of patriotism, of a proper regard for this country, who we are, what we are, and what we stand
They don't
for?
teach civics, I know.
Well, I think it goes back to a lack of history.
The lack of history. Okay,
Yeah.
patriotism, the lack of history.
Well, they're taught history. The trouble is that they're taught a very left-leaning version of
Right.
history.
What
They're
they
taught a
think it
version of
should
history
be.
in which we're the villains.
Yeah.
America's the enemy. America has oppressed people around
Yeah.
the world. We've oppressed people here in America.
Couldn't
So
be any
kids
farther
come-
from the truth.
Kids come out thinking that this is an awful country and that their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents must have been awful people because they perpetrated all these horrendous oppressions of people.
Yeah.
So they're teaching history. Trouble is they're teaching a fake,
Fake history.
fake version, an
Yeah,
alternative version of it.
Yeah.
No, I live up in the Edgewater area, and Rich, you should know. They just had the Mexican march. Saturday was it or Sunday?
Cinco de Mayo.
And
with you.
well, Cinco de Mayo
No,
is coming
16th
up
of-
and all of
16th.
that.
You know what that is, the mayonnaise in the sink.
And you know what? The point I'm trying to make is, are you guys listening to me?
Go ahead, Bill.
No? The point I'm trying to make is they seem to be more patriotic than we are.
Yes.
The Puerto Ricans, the Mexicans, the
to their
whatever,
country,
and that-
to their heritage.
country. Boy,
Well, that's
they're all
good.
there. Yeah, and that's good.
Yeah.
But you don't see them with the American flag on.
Well, that's
Yeah.
bad.
That's,
Well,
that's
There's a
you're-
couple blocks on East Avenue in Berwyn.
what?
In Berwyn, there's a couple blocks, 16th and 17th. Every house had an American flag, not, from the building, but they had an American flag. Every one of them for 2 blocks.
And what was their nationalities?
Mexican or Hispanic or
American is their nationality.
Somebody must have bought them for them.
Well, it's just that when somebody comes here, you're supposed to be going to assimilate.
Yep.
You're an American.
No,
Presumably you
we-
came here to
No
become
one
an
expects
American.
you to forget your heritage. No one, am I right?
Nobody's asking you
You're
to
right.
say that. No,
No.
absolutely not.
But
Because
that
your
becomes
ethnicity, okay.
secondary. That is
Yeah.
supposed
Irish
to
and
become
German, what's your-
secondary.
Sure, Irish and Polish.
Okay, next case. What are you?
What? I'm American, and
No,
I,
you want
ha-
your ethnicity,
and I
though.
have German and Italian.
Okay,
Uh,
Rich?
Mainly German, some Slavic,
Nah.
and Scotch-Irish.
My ancestors were White Russian, Polish, Hungarian, Austrian,
That's Belarus is the
Belarus,
White
yes.
Russia, right? Polish and what else?
Hungarian, Polish, Hungarian.
Oh,
Austrian.
Hungarian. Magyars.
Yeah.
Peter Lorre.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yours?
Get the information.
Mine was German and Swiss.
Yeah.
Swiss.
That's it.
That's it.
I married an Irish girl.
sounds kind of
And,
cheesy to me.
I should have stayed. Well, no.
The statistics will tell you the most common ethnicity that we Americans are descended from is German, and the second is Irish, and the most common intermarried is German and Irish. So just like Tom Hagen in The Godfather, you know.
But if you count the British Isles as the United Kingdom, the greatest source of Americans still, I think, even to this day, still comes from Great Britain, if you include
Right.
England, Scotland, Wales,
Right.
and Ireland. Yeah, well, not just Northern Ireland, the British.
I remember as a kid. I don't
More
remember
British than
have
German.
Native American, German American. Everybody was American,
Yeah.
and they lived in different neighborhoods. But
Yep.
it seems to
Well,
put a
when I was-
a wall between people.
When I was growing up, all I knew was that I was an American and that my mom and
that's-
dad were American. I mean,
Right.
none of this was of any
You know,
a part of my life in any way. This notion that this exaggerated emphasis on ethnicity that we have.
Right.
But you're aware of it, right?
Not really.
No?
Not really.
Not at all?
No.
My dad, I remember my dad saying, so my stepfather, so he passed, he was 91 when he passed away in 2004. But he would reflect on the old neighborhoods, whatever the ancestry was. He said, but, so those people came from other countries. He said, when you would hear the national anthem, he said, you'd see through the window, you'd see them stand up to their TV,
Yep.
you know. And
I remember as a kid being taught the Pledge of Allegiance. Long before I went to school, I
how
knew
could
the
they have
Pledge
ever
of
taken
Allegiance.
that out of the school? Unbelievable.
Well, now
flag,
they,
I mean,
they
I
tell
had
them
an
they could
American
walk out of the room before instead of.
I had an
standing up.
American flag in my room from the time that I was a little kid. I had I can remember American flags as far back as I can have memories. You know,
We have one in our front room. But that pendulum should swing back.
Yeah.
I'd like to see
are you
some
saying
more.
now that typical assemblies in the schools now they don't honor the American flag?
It's my understanding they don't start their day that way with the Pledge of Allegiance. It's optional. Let me say
It's
it this way.
optional,
I
right.
guess it's optional.
Well, that's not good.
Wow, it's not
Well,
right.
we can all remember when you turned on any sporting event, the television they showed you the playing of the national anthem.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it's and one of they don't want to do it now because they don't want to give credence to these demonstrators. But now I understand, and I'm not a big NFL fan. They only do it like for the Super Bowl or the playoffs.
Yeah.
But ordinary games, it's timed so that it's off the prime time, so that they don't have to broadcast the
Maybe
national.
to
with
avoid
the
the
exception of
controversy here.
baseball.
Yeah.
They're
I
punting.
had.
I think do they still do? I don't know about baseball. Do they still?
I think
They do. At Wrigley
Yeah.
Field, they do.
They
in
still
the-
play it, but
Yeah.
do they show it on TV?
And they also
Yeah.
sing
Oh, I don't
God
know
Bless
that.
America
Right.
at
Yeah.
the 7th. And
Yeah.
They have a guest, or Wayne Mesper usually sings
Well,
it.
baseball
Yeah,
was
yeah.
always baseball above all was always associated with the national pastime.
Right.
With
Yeah.
this, it was the first sport where they began playing.
That
the
started.
Star-Spangled Banner.
You know,
That's-
you're talking about in the schools and that. I remember my grandkids. I went to a couple of games and they were inside, whether they were swim teams or whatever it was. And they played the national anthem, and kids didn't do anything. They
Yeah.
didn't do anything. It was quiet, and that was it.
Did they stand
And
up?
I went, nope.
Well,
Well, they were all standing
Okay.
up anyway. And I went to the principal and used some 4-letter words, and they started doing it.
Yeah.
And,
Now
and
Now
that's what's got to
they'd
be
have you
done.
arrested.
That's got to be done.
Yeah.
You know, gentlemen, let me just tell you a little. When I was station manager for WJJG, we had a gentleman that came in and did a show in the morning. He started at 7 o'clock. He was an atheist. And John, I know you know who I'm talking about. His name was Rob Sherman.
Yes, sir.
Good Okay. old Rob. All right, this one morning, I lived over at 4241 North Melvina before I moved here in Norwich. I was getting dressed, getting ready to head to the studios. And of course, being station manager and chief engineer, I always had the radio on. This one morning while I'm getting dressed, Rob Sherman gets on the air and he is criticizing the American flag. He is criticizing In God We Trust. He was criticizing about the poor men and women over in at the Veterans Hospital in Maywood, and he, a lot of other comments. And he had a friend from California that he had on the air with him, and they were citing in and talking about our American heritage, our American flag, and all that. Well, gentlemen, I spent 15 years in the Army Reserves. I've seen a lot. I know a lot. I got in my truck and I headed to the radio station. how I ever never got a ticket going down Irving Park Road to Manheim, how I never got a ticket going through Stone Park, because that's a speed zone there, over there. Those people over there will arrest their own mother if they do a mile over the speed limit. I got to the station. I went up the step. I think I made every third step up to the second floor. I walked behind him and I shut off his microphone and I start playing music. And he says to me, "What'd you do that for?" I says, "Rob," I says, "you better get out of the studios now. Right now." I says, "I don't care. Out." And he just was frustrated because I threw him out of the studios. And I told him, I says, nobody is going to take and is going to downgrade our American flag, is going to downgrade In God We Trust. Nobody is going to downgrade and criticize the men and women that are laying in veteran hospitals around the world. I says, those people saved your rear end. And I says, and the owner of this radio station, Joe Gentile, was a commander in the Navy commander. He was the youngest commander in the United States Navy ever. I says, and you're going to sit here on his radio station and criticize and downgrade our American flag, our American soldiers, the people that saved this country? I says, out now. And even his license plates on this vehicle had atheists on it.
No.
Okay, now.
Unbelievable.
Now, that's story one. Story number two. His daughter went to Buffalo Grove High School. And there they had, they do it here at Ridgewood, down the street here, because I know I'm part of the station, school over there. And one day they had the Pledge of Allegiance, and they had In God We Trust. In God We Trust, yeah, you know. And what did she do? She put up a protest, a big protest, and she caused all kinds of problems at Buffalo Grove High School. So eventually they stopped the Star Spangled Banner. The Pledge of Allegiance is what I wanted to say, and then In God We Trust and all that. Well, you know what happened? A few days later, there were the trees and the shrubbery in front of their home in Buffalo Grove was all destroyed. His big driveway had about 5 or 6 gallons of paint all over it. His grass was wrecked, and well, they just in protest they just did a lot of damage to his home. When I was talking to Rob, I told him, you know, Rob, I says, above every human being's head, there is a God. Regardless if you're Catholic, Jewish, Protestant, Lutheran, whatever religion you are, above every man's head, there is a God. Well, one day, ladies and gentlemen, I was sitting up having breakfast with my sister in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and I get a phone call. Hello, John. Dennis Aarons. Dennis Aarons is the president of the 511 Club. He says, I got something to tell you. I says, what's that, Dennis? He says, just came over the news. There was an airplane crash.
Oh, yeah.
There was an airplane crash, and it was Rob Sherman, and he got killed in the airplane crash. I says, well, Dennis, I'm very sorry to hear that. I mean, I'm a human being, and I don't like to hear things like that happen. I says, but guess what? Rob Sherman met his God.
Yeah.
He found out one way or another.
Yeah.
Why did he park out here, John? What was it?
Because he wanted to show this truck that he had. They called it the Shermobile. That was the Shermobile.
Yeah.
He wanted to take and he wanted to show it around. And I was very upset that he did that. And I saw his Shermobile going up and down Manheim Road many times.
My grandson, you know, went to Buffalo Grove, and he was among that. And I learned this some years later. He was among some of those that went over to the house and did it. Yeah. Yeah. Matt had some stories about the girl and the whole family.
You wonder about someone. Okay, it's my right. If I don't believe there is a God, it's my right to believe that.
Yeah.
But why do I have to try to cast something on
Deny
someone
everybody
else?
else.
And this offends me. And
Yeah, yeah.
Madeline O'Hara, or what's her name? What's her name?
Madeline Murray
O'Hara. Yeah. People like that. I mean,
Atheist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
gentlemen, there's something else I'd like to say.
okay.
Okay. Since I've been a little boy and I'm 80 years old sitting in this control room, every time there is a sport event come on, the national anthem is played. I don't think there's ever been, and there's never been an event at Ridgewood, St. Benedict's High School where I went to school, St. Andrew's Grammar School where I went to grammar school, that the national anthem wasn't played at an event, the beginning of the event. Now, the last couple of years, that during the national anthem, you got people that are kneeling down
Yeah.
and that are disrespectful to our flag. You are in the United States of America. You are in our country. If you can't respect our flag and our anthem, then please go back to where you came from.
Leave.
I don't think, now I'm asking this question now to you panel. I don't think you would get away with that in Canada.
Huh. No. Or Mexico.
Or anywhere.
Yeah.
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 You know, John.
You respect the flag and you respect the people of your country. And that's the way I was brought up and that's the way I think it should be.
I wonder, what are they protesting, for God's sake? What are they protesting?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah.
What's his name? K-Pac? What's the...
Kaepernick.
Or- What's that quarterback's name? You know, that started all this.
Colin
Oh, Kaepernick.
What the hell is he
Colin Kaepernick.
protesting?
Unbelievable.
This isn't 1950 or 1930, something like that. 1920,
There was
right?
nothing justifying it then. There wouldn't have been
No, what I'm
showing
saying-
insult to the American
Yeah.
flag in 1930.
No, what
or
I'm talking about is racial stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
Jack, if I could, and John, this ties in directly to your point. If I could reference some words, and I want to tell you where I got this from, and please make a note of this. This is from OAN, American, One American Nation News. Now look for it, and you'll be well rewarded.
Well,
and so here's what they advertise on their intermissions. They quote history. And they quote here, I'll read it to you if you bear with me. It's Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president of the country. Let us say to the immigrant, not that we hope he will learn English, but that he has got to learn it. Let the immigrant who does not learn it go back. He has got to consider the interest of the United States, and he should not say, stay here. He must be made to see his opportunities to this country depend upon his knowledge, depend upon his knowing English and observing American standards. Theodore Roosevelt, 26th president. You know, maybe we got to be reminded of these words. These people that want to change our law system to Sharia law. These people that think our Constitution is an antiquated
Book.
And while we're
right.
While we're on that subject, today is Constitution Day. Today is September the 17th.
Very
Is
good,
the anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution of the United States in 1787. The document that enshrines our liberties, that provides us with our form of government, that provides us with so many of the benefits that we have, and it's in defense of the flag and the Constitution that our armed forces serve and defend this country. So this is a day worth remembering. And we got a couple of minutes. There's a couple of other, since we're Meet the Chicago Historians,
Go ahead.
there are a couple of other significant events. We talked about the Civil War. The Civil War Battle of Antietam took place on this date in 1862. It was the bloodiest single day in American history. More Americans died in that one day, September the 17th, than in any other single day in our nation's history. Gettysburg produced more casualties, but Gettysburg extended over 3 days. Antietam was a single day. And the interesting thing about Antietam is that Robert E. Lee took a shellacking at Antietam. Those who always exalt Lee as one of the great generals of all time, he was beaten badly by George McClellan. McClellan could have probably won the war if he'd had the aggressiveness and the gumption to pursue his victory. But that was not McClellan. McClellan was not Ulysses S. Grant. But it's one of the most significant battles, and it's a battle most people don't know of. They've heard of Gettysburg and Vicksburg. Nobody knows Antietam. And the third thing I want to mention, I talked with our host about this. This is the day in 1939 when the Soviets under Stalin invaded Poland at the beginning of World War II. And again, everybody knows that the war began with the Nazis under Hitler invading Poland on September the 1st. What not everyone knows, and it's becoming a little more commonplace, is that on the 17th of September, Stalin and the Soviets stabbed the Poles in the back by invading them from the other direction as part of the deal that Hitler and Stalin had concocted.
The non-aggression pact.
The non-aggression
Exactly.
pact between Molotov and von, the phony aristocrat von Ribbentrop. So this was a date when Stalin should get his share for beginning World War II, for starting World War II.
Right.
It was these two hideous regimes working together that snuffed out Poland and
You
began.
mean Uncle Joe?
Yeah, Uncle Joe.
Uncle Joe.
But Roosevelt
Joe.
had to work with him to get the war over.
Yeah, that's a different issue. I mean, Roosevelt,
Yeah.
by that point, they were fighting the Nazis
Yeah.
because Hitler stabbed Stalin in the back by
Right.
invading Russia.
Remember this: the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, and Roosevelt and Churchill understood that. And I've always said that every Soviet soldier that died, I mean, it may sound hard, but every Soviet soldier that died fighting the Nazis meant that there was an American or a British soldier that didn't have to
This
die.
is true.
Right.
No doubt.
And I'm sure that while they never verbalized this had to be in the back of the minds of people that were going on.
Right.
And Stalin was profligate. He didn't care how many men he slaughtered. I mean, I'm not being entirely cold-blooded on this. The Russians were willing to sacrifice as many men as they had to in order to
What
gain
is it,
territory.
by 20 million?
Oh yeah, their losses were
Casualties.
staggering. The
What was
Russian
the
losses
difference
were
between the
staggering.
loss in Antietam in 9/11? How much?
Oh no, I think, but there were. It seems to me that the number of dead at Antietam is between 15 and 20,000.
Oh, okay. I thought
3,000, or 3,000 that died on 9/11. This was a bloody one-day battle.
Right. Yeah.
Fought near Antietam Creek. It's a river. I mean a
There
stream.
was
Antietam
more
Creek.
people lost, but that was in Europe.
It was the bloodiest single day.
US history.
Battle of the Bulge. More died. Gettysburg.
Right,
But those were
this was
extended.
in this country.
Antietam is one day.
Right.
Americans going, and they're Americans on both sides.
That's why,
what caused the casualties.
Right.
Both sides are Americans. But more Americans died at Antietam than in any other single day in American
And I
history.
Wasn't
think
there
Lincoln
two-
used that so-called
wasn't there two
victory as the
battles
reason
of
to
Antietam?
issue the Emancipation
That was what
Proclamation.
gave him the ability to issue the Emancipation Proclamation, because he needed a victory before he could free any of the slaves. He wanted a victory so that we were coming out as a strong government, issuing this decree freeing the slaves.
Is it true that was a measure like to keep foreign powers from intervening on the side of the South too?
Yeah, because there was always this fear that if the South was able to win the support of either the British or the French, it would help. Now there's no way the British were ever going to come in on the side of the South, but there was always speculation that the French might, and the South had hopes. This ended that forever, because there was no way any self-respecting government was going to come out in favor of slavery.
Yeah.
That they were going to be fighting on the side of a government that was fighting to perpetuate slavery. That just wouldn't have sold in Britain or in France.
22,000 killed in Antietam.
Yeah,
22,717 dead.
yeah.
That's
Bloodiest single
from our
day.
information section.
Yeah.
Given the
Yeah,
population.
I knew it was around 20,000
Yeah.
dead, and as I say, the Battle of the Bulge extended over many days. Gettysburg is 3 days, so there are more dead there as a battle. But for a single day, it's the bloodiest single day in American history.
You know, the thought flashed through my mind. It's funny how the mind works sometimes. But as Neville Chamberlain brought the message, we can trust them. We can trust them. So is that can that be said of the Ayatollahs in Iran?
You're talking about
John Kerry's want to trust them, don't they? The Barack Obamas want to trust them.
Well,
Right.
Not to worry, nothing here.
Jimmy Carter brought
you're
the
talking
Ayatollah
pre-World
Khomeini
War
back
II.
from he
I'm,
brought him back
I'm
from
intermingling the two, as it was a false statement with Neville Chamberlain.
Right.
He's just
Yeah.
being duped.
Right.
How can this John Kerry and Barack Obama believe the Ayatollahs and give them how much, 100 some odd billion, the most terrorist country around? Is that coming back, those dollars and cents?
you know.
Yeah, it's coming back and
The
weapons.
knowledge
Big
or
time.
the sensing coming
You see
back.
how the pieces of the puzzle go together?
Makes no
Yeah.
sense at all. And that makes about as much sense as it's going to. Remember, folks, remember that history is much more than a book you keep on your shelf or your coffee table. This is Jack Ryan on behalf of Dennis Fitzgerald, Tom McKenna, Don Peterson.
Peter.
Peters.
Peter,
Oh,
go
but
ahead.
son, you're the son of somebody, aren't you?
Son of Subway?
No, the son of you're Don Peters' son.
No,
I'm Dominic Peters' son.
Rich Lang, John
John
Koscielko,
Koscielko.
my driver today,
That's right.
and Bill Kogelman, William, and
And don't
Kate.
forget the little dog.
We're all saying
Oh, yeah.
goodbye till next time. And don't forget John DeVita, our boss.
We wish to thank Kevin of Jack FM, WRHS 89.7 FM, for broadcasting our shows over the Ridgewood Radio Network. Recordings of previous Meet the Chicago Historians program are available for your listening pleasure via the internet at www.windycityhometown.com. We want to pay a special thanks to the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, John Seconda. On behalf of everyone associated with our Historians program, we thank you for listening. This is your announcer, Rich Lang. Stay tuned until next time, Monday, October the 15th. No. Let's forget that. I'll do it over.
You have been listening to Meet the Chicago Historians from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Monday, September the 17th, the year 2018. This broadcast produced by Jack Ryan, directed by John DeVita, and our special thanks to the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Secondo. Until next time, friends, please be safe and thanks for listening.